this week?
If I'm a Finnish idiot, where do you think I'm from then? Where could I possibly be other than from Finland?
You know what? When I see you again, which is going to be soon, like most people hug you and all that type of stuff. I'm not gonna hug you, dude.
You're just a waste of space, Keenan.
Ah, well, look who's talking. Let's go. Invisible speed
By the way,
segment.
did you see that? Did you see that meme that was posted?
Nitro is the glory. Welcome to the No Name RC podcast with your host tonight, Keenan White, aka Lefty the Great, and if you are unlucky, the Finnish village idiot, JQ. This is the RC podcast with no name, but plenty of content. So sit back, relax, and get ready for some serious bench racing.
Yes, indeed. Nitro's the glory, but E-Buggy pays the bills. And what's going on, everybody? It's episode number 36 of the No Name RC podcast. I'm your host, Keenan White, a.k.a. Lefty the Great. And this week, our guest is Rick McCrery from the Top 25. Now, I've known Rick for a long time. We met many years ago. We used to race the same cars back in the day. We actually reminisce a lot about that on the podcast. So it was pretty cool of him to come on, and we got to reminiscing about old times and talking about a big race that he done and how the whole top 25 concept came about, how he deals with all the criticism. So that's a pretty good chat with him, man. I appreciate him coming on board. Thank you, Rick, for your time. I hope you guys enjoy that. I want to say thank you to all of the No Name RC podcast listeners, man. We can't do it without you guys. Cannot do it at all. Appreciate the support. Had a few messages this weekend from people, and I appreciate it. I know I'm a little bit late the last 2 weeks coming up with the podcast, but it's really timing. Getting it timing with Joseph, and he's busy, and I've been kind of busy as well because of my wife's sister and her husband have been here. So I'm kind of spending some time with them. So, yeah, I do apologize, but we do get the podcasts out to you guys. So thank you for all your patience. Thank you to all the supporters around the world. Hashtag NNRC squad. It's greatly appreciated. We cannot do this without you guys. Speaking of, let's give some shouts and thanks to our sponsors. First off, I'd like to say thank you to RCMX Online. Go to RCMX Online. They've been supporting us for a long time. They have a page just for all of our podcasts. It's probably one of the most active media site, RC media sites on the interweb. They have some good blogs there. They have some really good information. So go check out RCMX Online. Thank you to Euro RC. I love their slogan. Just RC, no BS. Remember, if you type in NNRC5, you get a 5% discount off your order from Euro RC. Thank you to Assault RC. This week on the Assault RC Invisible Speed segment, Joseph talks about Toe. Captain Toe. That's what I like to call him. So thank you to Brent Densford and Assault RC. They've been our longest sponsor so far for coming on and supporting us all this time. So remember, go to Assault RC. Type in Lefty19 and you get 10% off your order. Excuse me, guys. I don't know, I think I'm coming off a little cold or something here, so my voice is a little messed up, a little more stuffed up, so I do apologize if I sound a little bit stuffy. Also, shout out to Techno RC. Techno RC sponsors the Grassroots Racer Spotlight, which is going pretty good. I do have to link up with some guys this week. We have to record. I haven't forgot you. Just been busy, guys, so we will get recording soon. Also, shout out to BK Servos, Brett Kammermer, and check out his awesome podcast as well. He has an aviation podcast. He's one badass helicopter pilot, him and his buddy and his young Padawan. Check out BK Servers. I believe they should have the 8-scale servers in stock that they need that we would use in our applications. But hey, check it out. You might have some servers that you can use anyway, or check out their podcast, man. It's RC, and I promote anything that's RC. So good stuff. Bipolar Designs, Jason Darlin. You know, Bipolar Designs just done a wrap for one of our other sponsors, RC 454 RC Works, my buddy Clint Treadway. I'm actually going to post a pickup. It's really good seeing two of our sponsors work together. I think that's pretty awesome. So go check out Bipolar Design, Jason Darlin down in El Paso. He'll get all your RC decals covered. Anything you need, get it, get the pun. He'll cover it. He'll wrap you up. You need custom wraps to match your paint scheme. You need name decals. You need wing wraps. Jason at Bipolar Designs has you covered. And our latest sponsor, 454 RC Works. Now, Clint's busy. His 3D printers are going. I saw him cutting out some carbon stuff the other day. He's going crazy. He's making all these different gadgets and bits and pieces and tool holders. He actually, we have a giveaway. He's got a tool holder he wants to give away. So go check out Clint. You do get a discount there. All the descriptions will be attached in this podcast, always, as we do in the description of the podcast, of all the links as well as promo codes. Remember, showing our sponsors shows us some love. Sorry, I said that wrong. Showing some love to our sponsors also shows the podcast some love. So thank you to all of them. RCMX, Euro RC, Techno RC, Bipolar Designs, BK Servers, Assault RC, 454 RC Works, and of course, I cannot forget JQ Racing. And this week, the rant is Joseph and I. And his rant's pretty funny because he went to the Euros and he has a pet peeve about that, the 10 scale Euros. Speaking of, congratulations to David Ongaro, two-wheel drive European champion. I think that just makes the 10 scale Worlds coming up in a few months even more exciting, knowing that Ongaro's out there kicking ass in two-wheel drive. So four-wheel drive starts Thursday, and I think it goes on to Saturday because they actually split the two classes up. They race 3 days of two-wheel drive, then 3 days of four-wheel drive. You get to see 10 scale cars for him, big air. Joseph isn't a really big fan of the track, but I like it. I think it's great to see 10 scale cars outdoors on spec tires and throwing big air. So I'm enjoying that. So check it out if you got nothing else to do. You have the Euros going on. Want to shout out to my JQ Racing family around the world, man. I see you guys are racing. It's good to see. Man, just keep it up. We can't do it without you guys, you know. I talk to you guys probably daily, you know. A lot of my days are spent talking to different people around the world, and most of them run JQ. You know, we appreciate your support. Keep up the good fight. Remember, embrace the hate. Be a part of a team, not just a number. And special shout out to my good buddy Brent Dansford and Beach RC. He's all excited. He's off to Italy this weekend. He's going to the RCGP race for next week. But he's leaving a week early. First time in Europe. I'm sure he's gonna have a good time. He's gonna go. He just announced his two drivers. Well, not new, but we all knew Marco Barufalo was going, and then he got Marco Ravaglia. I said his name properly. Young kid who did really well, made the finals at the Euros here recently, so it should be good. Speaking, I don't know. Maybe we'll call up Joseph and talk about RCGP a little bit more. But just wanted to talk some announcements this week. You have some good races going on this week. You know what? We'll talk about something real quick. E-Nets. I know people's like, well, you're probably not going to say much about E-Nets. You know why? I honestly, if I watch one lap of the E-Nets, that's all I watched. Not that I'm not interested in watching electric cars go, like electric e-buggers, as I did watch it last year, and I have watched it before. I just couldn't get into it. I watched maybe a lap, and I just thought the track was, I guess it was just a little bit too small for me. But hey, they had more entries than last year. Ryan Mayfield won it again. I don't even know who won E-Truggy and short course, but I don't know. I kind of disappointed. I thought it would be a little bit bigger, being as it's on the East Coast where e-buggy's a lot more popular, but it still didn't get much entries or much flair, or I don't know what they have to do. Maybe they have to go put it on an 8 scale track, maybe a bigger track. I don't know, man. It's just I don't think it's gonna get the entries that the fuel nets will ever get. Maybe they have to put it alongside, just make it e-buggy and put it alongside the fuel nationals. I don't know, to get the numbers up. But yeah, congratulations to all who participated. It seems to have come off flawlessly. I don't know, I haven't heard much about it, but then it wasn't really that big of an event. So congratulations to all that participated. And congratulations to the 8-scale e-buggy champions and short course champions. So, E-Nats, I can't say much about because I did not watch it. But this week, we have a couple good races coming up. Excuse me again. I'm just stuffed up this morning. We have the King, I know I'm probably saying this right, King of Kings race, or King, I can't remember how they say it, but it's at State Line. I do believe this is their last big race because this track is now shutting down. It's been open for so many years. Jared Tebow won 2017 Nationals there. It's held many big races, so I think they're just closing down, not due to financial difficulties or whatnot. Maybe just they've been around for so long, and running a track, man, it's a lot of work. So unfortunately, they are going away, but this is their last. I think this is one of their last big races. It's highly attended. It always gets a bunch of entries, so it should be exciting to see. The racing's good. I'll be following that. Also at Flowwood down in Mississippi, they have their Bring the Heat race. Adam Drake's going there. A lot of fast Southern guys. Brandon Rose, Cody Watson, all those local Southern Louisiana, Texas fast guys will be going there, Mississippi. So that's another great race. Flowwood is a really great example of a club track, indoors. Everybody works together. It's run by a club. It's funded, helped by the government. I have to get Charlie Mack on here to talk about it. I've stopped there twice. Joseph's been there once. I enjoy it, my time there. The people are good. I'll be watching that race. So, yeah. And then, of course, you have the four-wheel drive Euros going on at the same time. And then next week, it's RCGP time. But we'll talk about that with Joseph. Anyway, guys, wherever you guys are racing this weekend, have fun, enjoy it. You're fortunate to be racing. I always say that because, I still don't have a tracker, but we're working on that. Just be fortunate that you're racing, hanging out with your friends, doing something that you love. RC's cool, and it's cool to be with people that think it's cool as well. So enjoy your weekend. Don't put too much pressure on yourself. If you're just going to a club race, go have fun. Drink some beer, race, enjoy it. If you're going to a big race, don't put so much pressure on yourself. Drink some beer, race, enjoy it. We have to start enjoying and having more fun at these races, man, because that's what it's all about at the end of the day. It's having fun. Being around people that, enjoy the same hobby, sport, scale motorsport as you do and like it. And, we just geek all out about this, people using tire warmers and sauce and, this wing's 2 millimeters higher. That's all part of the fun. So just enjoy it, man. The camaraderie in RC is awesome. That's one thing I do like about it. The camaraderie is great. So if you're racing this weekend, have fun. Do something helpful for somebody that you wouldn't normally do, because that goes a long way. And I appreciate all the support for the podcast. Thank you all for tuning in. Let's call up the RC Gypsy. He's prancing around Italy somewhere, so let's see what he's up to. Let me call Joseph. What's up, you RC Gypsy? Where are you in the world?
Torino, Italy.
You haven't been kicked out of Italy yet? That's a miracle.
No, why would I?
Because you're Joseph and you get kicked out of countries.
Only Spain. And I'm back on Facebook too.
Oh, that's why you're so happy. Oh,
just now. Just an hour ago.
Oh, now there goes my peace and quiet. Actually, it was kind of
two back-to-back 30-day bans.
You didn't do 30 days the first time.
Well, no, but I still go. I didn't.
Yeah, I give you 2 weeks. I don't even give you 2 weeks, and you'll be banned again.
I just won't share anything.
Yeah, somebody's gonna ban you. But I hope you learned a little bit of a lesson there, because without Facebook, you're miserable. You are the most miserable guy I've ever met. You don't have your fix. You don't have your
it's
drug
not
of
about
choice.
that.
Oh,
it's just
no.
much. I need it for work, really. I message people on there.
Okay, well, you know what to do. Don't mess it up this time.
Yeah.
So I was watching the Euros today, and I saw Max was there. So I take it you guys went to the Euros to check that out.
Yeah, we went to check out the mains, and my pick won, so that's good.
Yeah, you sound
my pick for four-wheel drive isn't actually racing, which was Guelph, so I had to pick Lonnefalk instead.
That's so strange that he's not racing. He didn't do the 8 scale Euros, and he isn't doing the 10 scale Euros. Like, he just doesn't care.
Well, there's an ETS race, and he can win the ETS series, so he's going to that.
All right. Okay, and I saw that he was like on holiday for the 8 scale Euros. But yeah, I think the congratulations to David Ongaro. I wasn't even expecting that, to be honest. He beat some really good 10 scale specialists to win that.
Yeah, he was really good.
That's impressive.
They apparently they fixed the track and did something to it where it was a lot looser. So most drivers were slower and Ongaro was faster. So yeah, that was weird.
Yeah, well, I don't see any difficulty with him. I mean, if he can go fast in 2-wheel drive, he can go faster in 4-wheel drive. So,
yeah, he should be right up there in 4-wheel drive too. But I still think Lonnefalk will win 4-wheel drive.
Yeah, well, he still doesn't have that elusive 8 scale Euros yet, so you have to wait till next year for that. So you and your young Padawan or your partner in crime, Maximus Mortimus, you guys have been gypsying it around Italy for the last couple of weeks. How's that been?
Yeah, well, we've just been staying here. We have a new home track here, and that's it.
Yeah.
It's nice.
Yeah,
we rented an Airbnb, but there's no air conditioning, so it sucks.
Oh, man, do you have a fan?
Yeah, we have fans going, but it's still just hot.
Yeah.
So hot, it's crazy.
Sounds like her, dude. It's even though I got the AC on, it's still hot, man. It's like the heat's just radiating off the walls. It's trapped in her. I mean, it's a lot better with the AC on, but I definitely need to turn this on like an hour before I even come in her, so it cools down. So, oh, good. But you're in Italy. Like, is it close to the ocean, like where you are and stuff like that? I'm not really familiar where you're at.
No, it's inland. It's like maybe 1.5 hours from the sea.
Okay, all right.
Eastern.
What's the track?
Western Italy.
I haven't even seen any video or pictures from the track. Now that you're on Facebook, you can do that. How about a Facebook Live? That'd be great.
Yeah, maybe one day. Maybe we could film tomorrow some laps from the track.
How about a Facebook Live? Just like your 10-day blog that only lasted 4 days?
Yeah, that was good. I was about out of words at that point.
Yeah, well, that's highly unusual for you. But I don't know. What do you viewers think? How long will Joseph last on Facebook? I give him 2 weeks. 2 weeks.
I don't think I would be banned a third time this year.
Well, I think you might be facing like a permanent ban at some point.
I doubt it. I think I'll be good for this year at least.
Yeah, whatever. I've heard those words before. I think we'll be all right. Then we're staying in some janky hotel with freaking.
Well, we were all right anyway.
Yeah, whatever. Well, let's read the just for when we guys travel across America. I'm usually driving, right? And this guy
only the last time because of the insurance gay thing.
Right.
Otherwise, I would drive.
Yeah, so you're looking up hotels, and this is our thing because we're on a unicorn budget, so we're like, all right, what's the closest hotel? What's the cheapest one? Then we had like a thing with reviews. If it's 2 stars and above, 2.5 stars above, we check it out, and then we start on reviews. So we'll spend like 15 minutes just going through these reviews of different hotels.
Because if it's too cheap and it's like 5 miles off the road, off the highway, then you need to check some reviews just to know, like, do you have a window? And,
we did find when we was in Alabama, we kind of went like 5 miles off the road, and when we woke up in the morning and saw where he was, I was like, oh man, this is crazy.
It looked fine at night.
Yeah, we couldn't see anything at night. Crazy. The janky JQ van chronicles. So good stuff. So new track. You've been at Asti. I see that's coming up next week. That's all good. I see Diego. He sent me some more pictures of the track the other day. It's looking nice. He's made some improvements. What are your impressions of the track?
Yeah, it's going to be good. High speed. Finish line is up. I'm going to start putting banners up and stuff on Monday. So yeah, it's going to look the part for sure.
All right, yeah, Beach RC's team. Second guy was announced today. Say his name, please. Ravaglia. A lot of people may not know who he is, but he finished 8th in the Euros 2 weeks ago. So, he's definitely got some speed, and he bumped from the quarter to do that. So, good stuff.
Should be good.
Yeah. Beach decided to keep it all Italian. Hara's going to be racing. I was shocked to even see that myself. So, I guess that was a strategic move by HB to help promote Hara in his new position, I'm guessing. So we shall see. It's going to be interesting. I think David Ronnefalk is definitely going to be pushing to win this. I'm not saying he doesn't push to win any other races, but after losing the Euros, because he lost the Euros, like Berton won it, but David kind of let it go, I think, in the end. And it came down to being so close. He's definitely going to win a victory at Asti.
Yeah, I'm sure.
And then...
so is Ongaro.
Yeah, so is Ongaro. So
perfect season going right now.
Yes, it is. But I want Ronnefalk to win, so it gets exciting for the USA round that was announced yesterday. Oh, man, that stuff went viral.
Yeah, Thunder Alley. I mean, people even signed up. People were so eager to sign up for RC2. They signed up for Asti.
Oh, did they? That's what it was.
A bunch of people.
I saw some people talking about, I signed up. I was like, well, how could you be signed up? The sign-ups have not been released.
They signed up for Asti. So I'm just going to have to transfer them over, I guess.
Yeah. It should be good. I think a few people messaged me, and they're excited about it. And
we got some unique plans for the Thunder Alley round. Something new we haven't done yet in RCP, but we kind of always wanted.
Mm-hmm.
I think we'll be able to pull it off now at Thunder Alley, so it's going to be really exciting.
It's an iconic track. I've been there. I've never actually driven on it. Maybe if I go, I'll be able to get some laps on it after the race, or maybe before the race for once. So I'm looking forward to it. They have the JBRLs and all that stuff, but they haven't had a really big race there in a while.
No, that's true. The last really big race I can remember was when they had the Nationals a really long time ago.
Yeah, I wonder why. I mean, it's such a great it's such a great track. I mean, it's kind of away from everything, but I mean, I think it's one of the best tracks in America, to be honest. So
yeah, it's really good, and elevation changes. The dirt's good. It's going to be run wet. The race is going to be run wet, just to keep it easier, and with a control tire, especially when that track's dry, it's so abrasive and wears out tires really fast. So.
Okay, good stuff. Yes, because this is something that's going to be something new for most of these people, the RC2 drivers attending this. Spec tires.
Yeah, so hopefully next week we can announce the spec tire that's chosen, and next week the entries will open too. Mm-hmm. So instead of entering for Asti, people can actually enter the correct race.
Yeah. So
so all that information will be out next week.
Just to confirm, those are the people that thought they signed up for the USA run. You didn't. You signed up for Asti. You'll be transferred over.
Yeah, we can probably transfer them over.
So don't worry, you will be transferred over. And how do people pay for that too? Because I saw some people asking about that.
Just do a credit card or PayPal. So they'll get the information. Either when they sign up, they can pay if we have that working, or then they'll just get an email and then click a link and go pay.
Good stuff. I think it's going to be great. I think it's going to be awesome. I think it's going to be well attended. I think the racing's going to be great. And you know what? We're possibly going to see 4 Americans in RCGP.
Yeah, I mean, I would think that S-Works and Cavalieri.
Yeah,
I would think.
They would want to.
I don't know. Yeah, so maybe Cavalieri and then Cole Ogden. I would assume that HB sent him. Mm-hmm. And then 2 wildcards. So let's see who the wildcards are.
Yeah, the little birds told me who he's trying to get. I know he's asked a few people, and not he's some have refused, some can't do it. But I think if he gets the,
I think some also had other people refuse for them. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, maybe, but that we knew that was going to happen, so no worries. But I think it's going to be exciting to see If we have 4 Americans going, that gives the USA crowd something to root for. I mean, I like to see Cavallari there, like battling at one of his home tracks and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Against Ungaro and David Runnerfalk and Elliot Boots. Like, Elliot Boots probably never raced at Thunder Alley. You know, like race. No, of course not. That's going to be exciting, man. It's going to be really exciting for everybody.
And I saw some people were asking about the RC2, that who can race and stuff. So, you know, I guess people haven't been following, but RC2 is like the open class.
Mm-hmm.
So anyone can race as long as you want a paid professional driver, and you haven't been in the main at the Euros, Worlds, or Raw Nationals in 8-scale Nitro off-road within the last 5 years.
Okay.
So then everyone that hasn't been in the main for 5 years, Worlds, Raw Nationals, Euros, 8-scale Nitro off-road, doesn't get a paycheck for racing RC cars, they can race the RC2 class.
And I saw one guy asking about decals in RC2. You can run whatever sponsor decals you want.
You can run whatever car and whatever stickers you want.
You just have to run the spec tires, and they're limited to spec tires as well, right?
Yeah, one set a day, and then for the main day, when you bump up, because everyone gets 20-minute main, and if you bump, then you can have a new set.
Well, being as we're
you can buy those at the race.
Okay, being as we're talking about it, I also track time. How much track time can people expect to get in the RC2 class?
Well, we haven't done the schedule yet, but probably something like 5-8-minute practice rounds on Friday.
Mm-hmm.
So that's 40 minutes. And then qualifying day will be maybe 3 times 6-minute runs.
So that's 18 minutes.
And then if you're a junior, you have a junior race.
If you qualify.
If you're a 40-plus guy, you have a 40-plus race.
But you have to qualify. There's no separate qualifiers for that, just for people to...
Yeah, just the best top 12 from qualifying. And then main day, you have a 20-minute main.
Yeah. So you're getting more run time than if you was to... And I'm not bashing any other big races, but, you know, if you was to go enter 2 classes at DNC...
It's one class and like 1 hour, 20 minutes or so of runtime minimum. And then if you bump, then you get another 20-minute main. Or if you bump to the main, it's a 45-minute main. So, yeah.
And RC2, for those that haven't been followed, is run IFMAR ladder style. So, odds and evens, and it's going to be exciting. A few people have messaged me, and I think this is going to probably be the most stacked RC2 class that you've had.
Yeah, I would think so.
Yeah, all these fast guys from California. I've had guys from Washington are talking about coming. I know some people from the East Coast are coming, so it's going to be great. Yes, it doesn't have Truggy and E-Buggy and E-Truggy and all this type of stuff. It's just Nitro Buggy because Nitro is the glory, and that's what we race, and that's what matters.
Yeah, and the other thing is when you're there, you also get to watch the RCGP class race each other, so heads-up racing.
Yes.
Throughout Saturday and throughout Sunday, so... There'll be a lot of exciting racing to watch live. Mm-hmm. So that's also good.
Yeah. It's funny, but on this episode, I got the guy from Top 25, Rick McCrery. I'm probably saying his name wrong. And, you know, he was involved in the Manufacturers Cup. And he posted the video yesterday of their 2008 race. You got to check it out, man. These guys are so ahead of their time.
I know.
Oh, you did? But I mean, just look at the crowd. And somebody says that RC can't be spectator friendly. There you go.
Yeah.
There you go.
There you go.
You know.
Yeah, but even then, they did it one time, and then there was no industry support.
Yep.
And they didn't do it again. So,
well, they did it twice.
That's how dumb our industry is.
They did it twice.
Oh, they did it twice.
Yeah.
Was it this was the second time they did it? Or
I believe
the
so.
second time there was no support.
No, they never really had. He talks about it in the podcast, but. They went out and bought all that stuff. Like, they put in all the money for this stuff. Him and a group of guys. They had, you know, they may have got some slight industry support, but not much. You know, they sent their drivers up and stuff like that. He goes into quite a lot of detail about it because we talked about it for about 45 minutes, I would say. So it's it was a great conversation actually with him, man. Yeah, he likes RCGP. He says, I see some things I like to change about it, but I'm sure everybody does. But, you know, everything's evolving. So that's how it goes. Nothing's going to be perfect the first time around. So good stuff. I'm looking forward to USA. I'm looking forward. Hopefully I'll be in California. I like California. You got to get me out there I want to do some interviews and stuff like that. I want to work with Nick Damon. That's what I want to do.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
On what?
Like going around and interviewing people. Stuff like that. Yeah, I want to do stuff like that. I want to be part of the production.
Okay.
Yeah, I do. And I want to call a
Pitch
race.
reporter.
Yeah, or maybe call a race with him. But the thing is, I think if I call a race, I'll be like, oh, fuck, or something like that. You know what I mean? I don't want to say that. And I'll get tongue twisted. But yeah, I think I'm really looking forward to it. I love it when Nick Damon calls a race. I'm really looking forward to Asti next week. I know we're rambling on about RCGP, but I mean, the track looks great. There's going to be some exciting racing. Got some new Barufulos there. I think Barufulo's like got a target on his back, or he's got a target ready for everybody. You know what? He has something to prove too. So it's going to be a lot of egos, a lot of things to prove in this next race, and I think it's going to be great. I think we're going to see great racing on the Saturday as well as the Sunday. So remember, guys, if you want to tune into that, we will do a podcast on Starting Grid. We'll do that before next. I guess we'll do it next week. Our race review, but I know a lot more people listen to this. Check it out. It's going to be streamed on YouTube starting next Saturday. So, and they're 6 hours ahead of East Coast. So. Good times. All right. Well, I don't know, man. What else do you have to say? So you went to the Euros. You actually have a rant about the Euros, and I kind of do.
Yeah, I have a rant about 10 scale, and it's not going to be about pinions, but it's kind of the same sort of thing. It's sort of like this pink pinion crowd thing. It wasn't good.
All right.
I'm going to have to rant about that.
All right. Well, I'm tired of hearing you talk about, RCGP. No, I'm not tired of hearing you talk about that, but let's get into the Assault RC Invisible Speed segment first.
You are now locked in to the Assault RC Invisible Speed segment. Check out AssaultRC.com for the latest products for all your performance RC needs. Featuring the best lubes and specialty tools on the market. Use promo code LEFTY19 at checkout for 10% off your entire order at AssaultRC.com.
Welcome to the Assault RC Invisible Speed segment. This is the part of the podcast dedicated to all your setup questions. This week, we have the man himself, the roaming gypsy of RC, the Finnish idiot from Finland, JQ. And we're going to talk about toe-in this week.
If I'm a Finnish idiot, where do you think I'm from then? Where could I possibly be other than from Finland?
You know what? When I see you again, which is going to be soon, like most people hug you and all that type of stuff. I'm not going to hug you, dude.
You're just a waste of space, Keenan.
Well. Look who's talking. Let's go. Invisible Speed segment.
By the way, did you see that? Did you see that meme that was posted on?
Yeah.
Patrick did it.
Yeah.
So you know the meme, like there's a girl walking towards the camera, and then a guy with his girlfriend turns around and looks at the girl, and the girlfriend's like, "What the hell?" So the girl walking by was a debate, and then the guy turning around is me, JQ, and then the girlfriend looking at the guy like, "What the hell is you?"
I know, yeah, but you know
I
what?
just can't resist a good debate.
You know
and
what?
You're like, oh no, not again.
And you know what? I'm over that. Like, I'm gonna let you stew in.
Well, I mean, I can't really join in the good debates because I'll just instantly get banned for 30 days.
Well, you better just watch yourself, buddy. I might assist you to get banned. When you get on my nerves.
I swear it's you.
You know what? I have a theory. You know what? Hold on. We're not going into the Assault RC Invisible Speed segment now because I have a theory about you. And
What's that?
I know this is you, and I'm not going to say it because people's going to be like that. I just know. Now I have absolute proof that you are behind this. I know it. You know what I'm talking. You know what I'm talking about.
I don't.
Yes, you do. It has Joseph Quagrian written all over it.
What's that?
And you've been gone for a month, and it's been quiet for a month.
Anyway, being quiet for a month?
Anyway, I'll tell you later.
Okay.
Let's get to the Assault RC Invisible Speed segment. And see, you interrupt this segment like you interrupt everybody's life. This week, we're talking about toe-in. Something that a lot of people actually do not tune with.
Yeah.
So,
toe-in.
Go ahead, Captain Toe.
Okay. Captain Toe. Okay, so toe-in. Ongaro kind of brought back the let's not run any toe-in theory. It used to be that way in 8 scale, and then everyone started running 3 degrees, and then now Ongaro's been running 1 and 0.75, 1.5, whatever, but always not very much. I've tried it too, and it's actually really good. So here's the deal on towing. 3 degrees of towing on the rear is pretty safe everywhere. It works. Like, you can just run that always if you want to. Then typically some people are like, I've got a bit too much rear grip, or I need a bit more steering, and they go 2.5 maybe. So they reduce the towing, and I don't think that's good. So my theory on towing is either you want the rear end to be locked in, so you have 3 degrees, you always have grip, or then you want it to not grip that much, so it kind of slides a bit all the time, and then you go to 1.5 or less. So the towings to run are either 1.5 or less, or 3 or 3.25 or 3 or more. Mm-hmm. So you never really run 2.5 or something like that, because that's a compromise, and it doesn't slide enough to really be loose and not grab anything, and it doesn't have enough grip to really, be safe and have grip. So it's a medium. It's not a happy medium. It's a sad medium. It's a bad compromise. So either run very little or a lot. That's my theory on towing. And most of the time, the car will be the fastest if you run just a little. So less towing really frees up the rear end. You have a lot more corner speed. Actually, the car even accelerates faster when you have less towing. If you have the grip, less towing will give you more forward drive. It's crazy, but it's true. And yeah, you can turn the fastest lap times when you have less towing, definitely. But it can get too loose at times. And I would say if a track is consistently loose, like it's slippery, but it's consistently slippery, it shouldn't be a problem to run just a small amount of towing. The problems arise when you have a track that's grippy and then has sections like just offline, it's really dusty and loose. So you have grip going onto a loose section. In those conditions, it could be too hard to drive when you have just a bit of towing. So then you might want to lock in the rear end so it never really slides. It has grip on the grippy sections of the track and on the dusty or slippery parts. So consistent traction, even traction, just about always less towing. Inconsistent traction, sometimes you can get away with running the small amount of towing, but if the car is hard to drive, then you go to more towing. Just to make sure that the rear end is locked in at all times and it doesn't sort of slide around and make it hard to drive. So that's kind of my theory on towing, and it's crazy how little you can get away with. So I remember back in the day that the chrono guys were running 0.5 towing on the rear. So I don't know what Ongaro's been running, but I wouldn't be surprised if he sometimes runs that. So yeah, that's me on towing. And also, if you run the car and you lean the rear shocks down, so your rear shocks are laid down a lot, you can run less towing. So that could even be a combination of things. Let's say you're on the JQ car, for example. You have the shocks pretty stood up, like standard sort of setup, and then if you lay them down all the way, you could actually improve the car by then also reducing your towing after that.
Okay, well, how about front toe? You tune with front toe and toe out, toe in and toe out as well.
Yeah, well, in the front you sort of always run a bit of toe out. It just kind of smooths everything out. I think you can really notice it the best in higher speed sections, so high speed sweepers and stuff. If your car is a bit twitchy in them and hard to keep a smooth arc in them, if you add some toe out, it will actually smooth out the car noticeably. So yeah, just like 1 to 2 degrees of toe out seems to do the trick. Sometimes you see people running, an excessive amount of toe out in the front, but I don't know. To me, it just makes the steering inconsistent.
Well, also remember pillow bowl cars, especially when they're arrested, like on a stand or anything like that, they have extreme amounts of toe out.
That's because they have so much bump steer.
Yeah.
And I honestly, I don't really know why they are made that way. I don't. That's something I've never really understood. It's not like you have to make a pillow bowl car have bump steer, but they do. And I don't know. I've tried both ways, and I think it's better when you don't have that much bump steer. But
you know what?
What do I know?
That's actually a good topic for our next rant. I'm not rant. Assault RC Invisible Speed segment. Pillow ball versus C-Hub. We'll save that for the next one.
Yeah, that could be a good one.
All right. Cool.
Yeah.
So it's all
once again, I have a good, strong opinion on that, and I know I'm right.
Well, you never think you're wrong, so that's my.
Sometimes I am. Mostly about things I don't really care about.
Yeah, right. And then you never admit that either. So, anyway.
I'm not off the record only.
All right. Well, thank you for your wisdom, O wise gypsy one, who is always right. The Oracle of RC. That's going to be your new name. Joseph Quagrain, the Oracle of RC. Thank you guys. We haven't been getting much setup questions in, so if you do have some, if you sent me a message and a while ago and I haven't answered your question, please send it again, because sometimes when messages get put on, or the Assault RC Invisible Speed thread is pinned to the top of the No Name RC podcast Facebook page, which is like 100 likes away from 2,000, by the way. So, let's get that going, sharing and liking that page. And thank you to Assault RC for sponsoring this segment. Remember, go to assaultrc.com, type in Lefty19, and you will get 10% off your order. Showing our sponsors love shows the podcast some love. All right, Joseph, I will talk to you in the rant.
Cool story, bro.
Yeah.
This is the ridiculous one, Jay Smoker, and you're listening to the No Name RC podcast. Ridiculous! Woo!
Hey everyone, this week's guest on the No Name RC podcast is the man behind the top 25 rankings in RC, Mr. Rick McCrery. What's up, Rick? How are you?
I'm good, man. I'm good.
Hey, thank you for coming on the podcast, man. We've talked, not a lot, but we've had conversations over the last year or so about different things, about top 25 RCGP. So it's good to get you on here. But we actually did meet each other many years ago at Silver State 2005 when you was part of Team Jammin'.
That's right.
You and your brother, man. I remember you guys being avid posters on the starting grid. Long live the starting grid. And,
that's right.
Those are some great times in nitro racing.
It was the glory days.
Yes, it was. You and your brother were racing real hardcore back then.
Yeah, we did our series up here in the Northwest, and then we tried to do. We would do a couple of events, national size events like Silver State Nitro Challenge or a Nationals or something like that. 2 or 3 a year. So we kind of hit them all.
Yeah, that's good stuff. All right, so just so people know your age, how old are you, bud?
I'm 39.
Okay, so you're almost to 40 plus.
Yeah.
And you're located in Spokane, Washington. Was you always located in Washington?
No, I'm originally from a smaller town called Lewiston, Idaho, which is just about a couple hours south of Spokane.
Okay, good stuff. All right, well, I like to ask every guest that comes on here. I know it's a very generic question, but I find it very interesting to find out how people get into RC. So give us a brief description on how you got into RC.
Well, originally, my cousin, my older brother is like 3 years older than me. And then I have a cousin we lived on the same kind of block, and he was a couple years older than him. And I don't know how he ever got it, but he had an RC. He had a RC10 back in the day, and then we always thought it was cool. And him and my brother and I, we grew up around like classic cars. My dad and my uncle were both big time into classic cars. So we were kind of like little motorheads to start with. And then he got rid of that thing. And then someday when I was in high school, I think, when I was in high school, my brother and my cousin were just out of high school. We were talking about that car, and then we were like, dude, let's go get them. Let's go get some cars. And we made a deal. We were like, all right, we're going to go see who's the fastest, and then we're going to see whose car looks the best. So then we all went to the local hobby shop, which sucked, but went to this local hobby shop. We all asked for what the fastest car was, and it was a Nitro 8 scale. And then we all bought 8 scales and then tried to figure out what we do with them after that.
What type of cars did you guys buy?
My cousin, he bought an Offna. I think it was like a Hyper. I don't know. It wasn't even a Hyper 7. Probably, I don't think at that point.
It was probably one of those because Offna had so many different.
Dude, yeah, it was the cheesy one.
Yeah,
I remember that.
The Hyper was the better one.
Yeah, and then my brother bought the GS Storm, which just came out.
I remember that. It
just came out, and he bought that one. And then I ended up with I bought mine a little bit later, and I bought a Kyosho. So I had obviously the better car.
Yes, you did, because Kyosho was number one. As much as I hate to say this, Kyosho was number one back in the day. So.
You couldn't touch it.
Yeah. No, let's not talk about that too much. That's kind of how I got my feet wet. I just went out and bought a Mugen, 2 Nova Rossis, and just broke it all. Like, just probably screwed up the engines. Like, these weren't cheap engines back in the day, and that started. Nitro is the glory. So did you guys?
That's right.
What did you guys end up doing after that?
So, one funny story is my brother had that GS Storm, and we were all about we wanted to go fast, so we figured lighter was better. You know what I mean? So we took his chassis and we drilled holes all over it to make it lighter, and it lasted 5 minutes, dude, and bent in half. Obviously. Were
you guys racing them or just going up and down the road with them?
No, we were just bombing up and down the road. But,
okay.
He just wanted to be faster, so he decided he was going to take some weight off. So then we were racing around, and then my cousin kind of just fizzled out. We would the hobby shop had it was shitty, like a tiny little track. And then but no one ever raced. So then we heard about a place up in Coeur d'Alene, which is just right here by Spokane. It's 30 miles away. And they had an indoor track that was pretty big. It was the track was 120 by 80, and it was clay, and they ran nitro in there. So, this is coming towards wintertime, so we would drive up every single weekend. And then we just got introduced to racing at that place because we had never had a timing system. We didn't know anything about any of that. We just raced heads up because that's all we knew. You know what I mean? So we got introduced to it through that, and then the starting grid helped us. I don't know, we found that somehow.
Yeah.
I don't remember how, but there was a lot of good information.
Oh, was it? Yeah.
Because the place we ran, it was clay. So we would cut down pink taper pins, cut down truck tires. Yeah. And they were so much faster than everybody else that they outlawed them because no one knew how to do it except for us because we were on the starting grid.
Yeah. You know what? I have to say this because it comes up. I love talking to the old school guys who are on the starting grid, and these people that got into the hobby or industry recently would know nothing about this. But the starting grid was the place you went where Chad Bradley was super active on there.
It was the only place to get a hold of an actual pro.
This was no Facebook days. There was no live RC. I remember the 2002 Worlds in Uruguay. We was watching it, quote unquote, watching it. Basically, it was a thread on that damn thing, and somebody had a phone and was texting minute reports to somebody, and they were then reporting on. And I remember just refreshing. Oh, Degani isn't here, or Saxon broke. No, Bradley is out to a lead, and then a few minutes later, oh, he broke his pipe. Hey,
Yep.
people would just know not the pain, the jokes. That's where like people's like, well, why is Joseph the way he is on Facebook? I said, you guys need to see him back in the day on Starting Grid and the shit that he started.
It was hardcore.
Yeah, I mean,
for as bad as it was, though, I mean, because there was some nasty parts of that.
Oh yeah,
but there was a lot of good information, it was like, it was pre-Facebook, pre all that stuff. I mean, it was the only way you could really get a hold of a pro.
Yeah.
And you could get information fast, what people were running, whether they had new parts on or whatever, because it would be 2 months before it came out in a magazine.
Yeah, and it connected people with RC around the world, man. I met so many people through the Starting Grid. And then you would go to a race and be like, hey, you're such and such from the grid. Yeah, and good times, man. That's why I named my other podcast that. I was like, man, I wanted to make the RCGP podcast. Like, I'm going to call it the Starting Grid. And that's to
a little nod to the old Starting Grid.
Oh yeah, that was good time. You bringing back so many memories, Stalker. We're going to probably go down memory lane a lot here on this one because
that's all right.
We came up in the same, like you and I, very similar, same racing system, and know. Okay, all right. So when did you start actually getting serious about racing?
Gosh, it was really, really quick. So I'd have to go back and actually look, but I think it was probably almost 20 years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah, about that.
Mm-hmm. Was it mostly nitro, though, what you was doing?
Always nitro.
Okay.
Always 8 scale, always nitro.
Well, electric was kind of dead at that time, too. Well,
yeah. 8 scale was where it was because I think the cars finally got good and, like, reliable. Yeah. And so, and we were, like, growing up with the classic car thing, we wanted engines, not motors, you know what I mean?
Yeah, good stuff, man. All right, so you was racing up there in the Northwest. When did you start traveling down to like races in California and bigger races like that?
It was we probably raced around for a couple of like 2-3 years. It was so interesting though. I mean, back then because we didn't know anything. We showed up at this track and then we were like, all right, cool. And then we heard about a track over in Portland and we're like, dude, let's go. We're going next weekend. And then we just drive to that place, and then at that place we'd hear about a different track. And so we'd go hit that one the next time and then be like, oh, there's a nationals. And we're like, what? There's a nationals or whatever. You know what I mean? You're like, well, these big pro guys go to this race. Like, how do you go to that? Yeah. And then so, it took a couple of years, I guess, just to get that information because, as good as the magazines were, they didn't really, they show those races, but to get there and know where to go and all that stuff, it's kind of was a little trickier, I guess. So it took us a little while to kind of get in the scene enough to where we could get the information enough to be able to go hit that stuff. But we went full hardcore as fast as you could go in it. I mean, anything we found out about, we did. I remember we drove from here to Portland, which is 6 hours, bought a motor, drove back the same day, and raced it the next day.
Wow.
Like just to get that motor.
But that's what you had to do back in the day.
Yeah, there was no online. It didn't work like that.
Yeah, people would just freak out. Now you can just order a complete car right off your phone. It's so crazy. Yeah. So crazy. All right. Well, I like to talk about this because, like I said, I'm a big fan of, you actually put me in contact with him, and I'm really trying to get him on the podcast. I hope after this you talk to him, say, man, I did the podcast with Keenan. You need to do this. And he wants to come on the podcast. He's just so busy. That's Jammin' Jay Housley. He's a great guy, man. Awesome dude. I met him at the Offner race back in 2005. I was really good friends with Paul Coleman. So me and my buddy Keeman, we went up to that race and hung out with him and Lance Norrick and all that. I don't think you was there. I met you. I met you the following a couple of months later at Silver State. But great times. But I knew you was on the jamming team, you and your brother. And I don't think people honestly understand how jamming racing kind of changed the whole, not necessarily the game, but the pit game. That's when we started seeing like fully factory type pits and everybody pitting in there and whatnot like that. Because Jay had this great idea, which now we see now. I mean, even in JQ racing has done it more to a different step. And you go to a race. I went to DNC and everybody was set up nice and looked good. So let's talk about early days on the jamming team, man. That was one anticipated car.
Yeah, the jamming car. One of the first times I actually saw that car before I even knew was that place we would go race at in Coeur d'Alene. Drake ran a prototype 8 scale there. He came up they paid these dudes to come up to this race, and he ran that car before it came out. And then we were obviously checking it out. We didn't know what it was. And then we got tied into, because the way it kind of all started was kind of a perfect marriage between, Jay obviously was the huge part of it, but I worked at a hobby shop with a friend of mine, Matt, and he was a big vision dude, you know what I mean? So when the, what was that car that Associated owned for a while? What was it? Thunder Tiger.
Yes, Thunder Tiger.
So when that car came out, the big group of us guys up here in Spokane and him through the hobby shop, he wanted to make a race team, really similar to like what JQ wants to do, where he contacted the local like monster distributor dude. So we painted all our cars green and had monster decals. It was annoying because everyone wanted their paint scheme, and then those cars turned out to not be that great.
I don't know, that tunnel chassis and all that stuff.
Yeah, it was such a cool idea. I mean, but then so anyways, we went through that whole deal, and everybody kind of took a step back in results and performance and stuff. And I was like, dude, I'm done. I'm just going to go buy my Kyosho again and go fast again. Yeah. So then he's like, no, dude, I've been talking to this guy, Jay. And he's got a car and it's really good. It's really good. And then I was like, whatever. And then I don't know how he worked it out or what actually happened, but he got a car and he's like, dude, we'll get a car and we'll run it and see if it's any good. And then, so we did, and the car was really good. Mm-hmm. And then through that relationship, because Jay himself was ahead of the curve, and then my buddy Matt was like still ahead of the curve probably. He's just one of those guys. And so together they were really good, but that's how we got tied in with the jam and stuff. And then, like you were saying, Jay, I think, was one of the first people. Silver State was probably the first spot.
Yeah. He
had his trailer with the big jammin' decal, and then he had pop-ups and T-shirts. Because back then,
that wasn't part of it.
You'd have Tebow and all these guys winning those races wearing like Fox shirts and
you couldn't even get T-shirts that easy back then. It was so hard.
No, not even the factory guys wore them though. It was strange. It was so weird.
Remember
looking back?
Yeah, Dean Sexton had his RV parked right there, and
he had it set up like a little compound.
Yeah, it was so crazy. Like it had a big 55-inch screen TV. His kids were all over the place. That's the first time I met Jay Smoker. He had this long hair. I said, "That's the guy, Jay Smoker." And I actually got sick though. I only spent one day there, and then
I got sick too.
Yeah.
I went to the emergency room and I was like, "Screw, I'm out of here."
Really?
Sketchies in here. Yeah.
So we both got sick, dude. I got so sick. I just ended up staying in the. We had rented a house, and I stayed there for the entire week. And that's when I also realized that I'm not going to be a pro driver. That's too much work. So, but it was so fun, and then I just met, just Jay was, no, actually, sorry. I met Jay at Silver State. Now I remember how it went. And then I went to the Offner race, which Paul put on later on in the year. And then I stayed in America, and I went up to the RC Pro Finals at Sun Valley RC in California.
Oh, I went to that too.
Mm-hmm. In 2005, and Jake hits me and Paul goes, "Hey, go see Jay if you need anything." I was just running the truck had just come out. I was only running truck, so we went there, and Jay goes, "What's this, man? You've been in America for a month. Like you met some girls and you ended up staying at their house." And I was like, "Yeah, that's how it goes." And he was just like, "Yeah, man, take some wheels and stuff like that." And it was so cool the other day when I messaged him. I was like, "Man, I don't know if you remember me, but this is Keenan from Bermuda." And yeah, of course I remember you. And gotta get him on this podcast. But
yeah, he's an awesome dude.
The jamming thing was so ahead of its time. They had a really big team. They had really fast guys. Like you said, Drake was on there. But then Losi came out with the TLR, and then he obviously left. I mean the 8. But you had Taylor James. People don't realize how fast that kid was. Chad Bradley at his peak. Who else? Steve Dunn, Dean Sexton. All these guys may not be like But those guys were making finals back in the day, like, you know. So
yeah, I mean, and realistically, team wise, they've had a really good team because back then, I guess, you know, the Kyosho car was always good, and so they had, you know, I think Mayfield and Cav and those guys all ran that car. Oh, but that Matt Gosh too. Matt Gosh was
yes. I forgot all about Matt.
But with that, I mean, they had like 3 good drivers that could legit like put a push to win a race, you know.
Yeah.
Especially with you know, Chad was at the top of his game, and Taylor James was the guy kind of at that little time. Like Sun Valley, for instance, like, he was good.
Oh yeah, I had him in the. I think he won the nationals that year too.
Yeah.
Yep.
Wow. So yeah, it was cool, man. And
Good.
all those guys were super cool, and we were like all really, really close, legit friends. Like that was it was a cool atmosphere.
Yeah, it was.
We still reminisce with Jay, and we have a little group text.
Oh yeah.
That we go through. It's fun.
Yeah, it's kind of like, I remember, like, I wasn't on the team, but I was part of the team, like through Paul and whatnot, and I loved my car, and then I think I got it. After I came back from the trip, that's when I got in my accident, and I kind of got out of it and got out of RC, and then I saw that the team actually, I don't know what happened, but I mean, I'm sure Jay can tell us about that later.
Yeah.
But it's a shame because it was such a great atmosphere, man, like you said, and it grew like across the nation, and it was big, and it was so much fun.
And also they, you know, I think Jammin and Jay himself were one of those people one of the first manufacturers that went and did a lot of those little support races that weren't getting attention. He did a lot of grassroots type stuff that nobody was doing then.
Yes.
You know?
Yeah.
And he would support the people that were supporting him, you know, as far as like, you know, like you were saying with giving you wheels, or he would send t-shirts, and he gave us way, way, way more than we ever deserved as far as our talent wise. And then we reciprocated that obviously with just promoting hard.
Yes.
You know,
you guys were big. You guys promoted a lot. I remember that. And it was just a great time. And I really, honestly, I cannot wait to get Jay on her, and I just reminisce about all that stuff. So
yeah, because he was back when he's got so many good stories, but he was back when even farther than that, you know.
Yeah.
It was crazy. We were at his house, and he's got like the car that he like won worlds with, and it's just like tipped over on a box in the storage area. You're like, what are you doing, man? Like, it's crazy.
Awesome. All right. Yeah. So after Jammin' Team, how much longer did you guys race? And when did you kind of just? I mean, you still. I asked you earlier if you still race, but you said you haven't this year, but you still kind of race, but you kind of. I guess real life kicked in, and you kind of fell out of the limelight, I would say.
Yeah, well, I raced pretty hard, and I raced for Jamlin for a long, long time, and then I worked for, and then I moved. I lived up here, but I worked for Venom Racing. They make like batteries and stuff for RC. So I worked there for a little while. So I was still in the industry, and I was doing like promotion type stuff up here and things like that. But then Jay was just kind of like, it was just kind of like fizzling out, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, like, no, I don't know. To be honest, I don't even know what happened. It was just weird.
Yeah.
So when that was happening, it was just like, all right, well, I'm due for a change of some sort. It had been a long, long time. And I actually ran the JQ car right when it came out, because right then's right when it came out.
Okay.
And so I ran the JQ car for, I don't know, maybe a year or so. And then after that, I really didn't, I kind of, you know, RC was just changing, I guess, so much to where like everyone was sponsored, and I wanted to run whatever I just wanted to run. You know what I mean? So I just eliminated all that, and I switched a couple cars. I bought a used car that I wanted to try, and then I wanted to try this other car, so I bought another used one because I wasn't sure what I wanted to run, and then just kind of floated around between cars. But I would just hit the more local races, like 3 or 4 like big local races here. And then this last year, or this current year, I guess, is the first time I actually haven't raced at all this year.
Yeah. Well, you should get out and race.
I would always do the local one.
Yeah, get out to the NCT, man. You guys got a very healthy RC community going on up there in the Pacific Northwest. So You don't have any
it's really
excuses
good.
about that. So you got lots of racing going on. Cool. All right. Well, we kind of went over and above. Like, I'm sure we could talk for an hour about old times, but
For sure.
there's another thing that you was involved in before this top 25, which I thought was super impressive, was the original Manufacturers Cup. And before people think, I know now people probably think of the Manufacturers Cup as the one that A-Main does or just recently done.
Yeah.
But this was actually a race that I talk about a lot because this was the first, I think for me, the first RC race that I've seen actually catered to spectators. I remember you guys throwing T-shirts out to these guys. I remember the spectators. I remember the biggest jump on the track being right in front of them. You had Open and Pro. I think the Pro guys, they won one year. They won like a 4-wheel. The next year they won a motocross bike. I know the person who won Sportsman or Open, whatever it was, below that, they actually got a full TLR ride for a year, and one of them. So let's talk about that a little bit. How that came about, who was involved, and that you guys actually proved that RC can be spectator friendly.
Yeah, it kind of got started because times then were just like they are now. Everyone talks, but about how they want this and they want that, and at the time we were with Jammin at the time, and Gary Guest, who was from California, but he would come up in the Northwest and race with us a lot because he was fast, and he helped us promote and do a bunch of stuff up here. And we went to, I'll never forget, we went to this race in Utah that people were putting on, and like a lot of those races then and now, they talk about, oh, it's going to do this and it's going to do that, and we're going to have people and outside sponsors and yada yada yada. And then we show up, and the race was fun, it was cool and everything, but like in the end, it was just another race. Yeah, it was in a little indoor horse arena thing, but nobody was there. All it was is a race in a horse arena. You know what I mean? So we drove down there. So the way back, we were just talking about like, dude, I don't understand. Like, it can't be that hard. Like, let's just and we're like, here's what they should have done. We should have done this. They should have done that. They could have done this, and this is me, Gary, and then that guy I worked for, Matt, and he owned a hobby shop. And so we were all talking, and we were like, you should do this and that. And we're like, dude, let's just do it. Let's just prove it. Like, it can be done. And like, all right, cool. Well, how do we do it? Like now we're just talking, but how do we really do it? So we kind of just formulated a game plan on what needed to change, because the whole idea was to get spectators. We didn't really put this race second, but the main focus was on the spectators. So we're like, all right, what do we got to do? Well, we got to change the way the mains work, because time is hard to understand, the whole like race by time and then yada yada yada. So we were like, okay, well, we can't do that. And then we were talking, we're like, nobody cares about qualifying's done. It's boring to watch. It's really confusing because everybody's on their own clock. It's even harder because we were trying to balance like what can we still do to get the racers so they aren't like, these guys are nuts, and then what can we sacrifice to give the spectators what they'll understand. So we decided, which I think this is one of the main things that people screw up on that are trying to get spectators, is we figured, and we talked to some people that did like motocross races and whatnot, promoted those, and like they figured like spectators have like a 2-hour window that they'll come to an event and stay. You know what I mean? So like opening the doors for Saturday, Sunday, the whole day, like, yeah, you maybe have, 7,000 people that will cruise through there, but at any one time, you're only going to have like 200-300. And what we really wanted was the atmosphere of like a full stands, and put on a show, just like Supercross. They don't air the whole thing.
Yes.
You know what I mean? They only air what people really care about.
Right.
So we were really focused everything to a specific day on Saturday, actually, because we figured we could get more people. And then we just worked backwards from that point, scheduling wise and stuff like that. And then we didn't really get a lot of sponsors to start with. And we knew we weren't going to, because, it was really, really hard to get big time drivers here or get any kind of sponsorship like money from anybody. So our theory, which would also, it was kind of a double-edged sword. It was kind of bait to get the pros, all the big-time guys here, because we wanted the best in the world to promote that and advertise that. So we decided a big prize was what would get people here. And also, racing for a regional championship or even a national championship, to someone that doesn't know anything about RC, it doesn't mean anything. But anyway, having a big prize that people can relate to would make sense. So we did, I think the first year it was like a dirt bike. If you won the buggy pro class, you won a brand new, I think it was a 250 Yamaha or something like that. And then truggy, we got that Matt guy was really good friends with this wheel and tire guy here, Les Schwab, which is like a big company in the Northwest-ish. And he gave away like $2,500 in wheels and tires of whatever you wanted, you know what I mean? Like a credit, basically. So we had that going, and then once we were pretty far in at that point, so it was no turning back. So then we did banners. We got as many banners as we could, and we just set it up kind of like in an arena. So everything was like, looked best from the spectator's point of view. And then people came, and it was pretty good the first year. And then we did it another year, and it was even better. It was like there was people scalping tickets. But we did radio.
You guys sold tickets to get in. How much did you sell the tickets for?
Well, see, and this is the thing, too. This was kind of our deal, because what we want to do is just prove that people will watch and people will enjoy it. So the first year, we had tickets printed. And then when people, because we tried to, the idea was to get like local sponsors too.
Right.
And so we would give them like a couple hundred tickets and then just have them give them away.
Got you.
Like we never sold one ticket.
Right.
Ever.
Just to make it, I get it. The illusion that
yeah, exactly. Because we put like a $15 ticket value. So people are like, oh, I got this free ticket. It's worth $15. Like, all right, I'll go bring the kids, whatever.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it was just kind of an illusion or more bait, I guess, to get people there. And then we did radio ads and gave away tickets over the radio, but they were all free anyway, but people didn't know. Where
was the first race held? Because it was held in
it was held in Coeur d'Alene, which is
Coeur d'Alene, okay.
Yeah, which is half an hour from here. It's like a resort town. It's on a lake. It's really pretty, which was in our advantage too. And Spokane has an international airport, so it's kind of easy to fly in and out of. And then we did it in the rodeo ground, so it was outdoor covered stands. And we geared everything to the spectator, and we figured the faster these cars could go, the better. So we sugared the track, and it was like asphalt.
Yeah, I remember that.
There was so much traction.
Yeah. Crazy.
Yeah. It was really cool.
Where did you guys get the money to do all of this?
Yeah, that's where Matt came in.
Okay.
I think he floated a lot of it from his hobby shop.
Yeah.
And his motivation was, I'm going to get all these people in the stands, and then all these people are going to kind of want to be into RC, and I have the hobby shop in town.
Right.
And it worked. We always had a ton of people after those 2 times we did it. We had a big influx of people coming in, and a lot of those people stayed.
Yeah, that's good. It does work, man. You got to just show people.
Yeah.
Who won the first year? I think it was
it was Tebow. Tebow won the first one, and Mayfield won Truggy. And then back on the sponsor thing too. Nobody was sponsored then. Like it just nobody was.
Right. Yeah.
So we made a deal with all the manufacturers that whoever won Sportsman in the buggy and in Truggy got a year sponsorship, whether that's 50% deal like they give away all the time now. That's up to them. And there was a couple people that didn't want to do it, and then my buddy Matt was like, screw it, then I'll just sponsor them through the hobby shop, like whatever, I don't care, because that's what I want to give away, so I'll figure it out. So but most people were all in agreement, and the first year it was really cool. The dude that won Truggy, I think it was the first year, it was pretty sick. He won, and then Drake was up there, and Truey, I think, was up there, and they were both Losi guys, and they came out with a big Losi flag, and we did all the award stuff immediately after the race, right in front of the stands, right, so it was like there wasn't like an award ceremony afterwards. It was race, award for that race, and then right back to the next race.
Yeah.
So it was cool.
How many spectators did you guys get in those stands, you think?
I think it held like 3,500 or something. And I remember like I was working the thing. And so, obviously, so people were getting all these complaints about people standing up on the front row. And then, so I went up there to like tell people to sit down. And then they were like, dude, there's no seats. And I was like, holy shit. Like,
wow.
There's literally not a seat in here. And the fairgrounds also had a beer garden.
Yeah.
That had like windows that could look over, So we kind of shifted the track over there so we could have the beer garden going, and it was cool.
Yeah, that's cool. So going into the second year, was it easier to do? Did you guys knew what you had to do? It
was a lot easier because we kind of had an idea of what we were doing. Because the first year we had no idea what that dirt was going to do. The one thing we did the first year and the second year is we held it 1 week after the big local like motocross race. They would hold it in the same place. So we would go out there at their little intermission, and we would hit the ramps with a truggy, and then they would do like a little ad thing, over the speaker for next weekend. And so that's one way you promote it too. But the second year was way, way, way easier because we knew what the dirt was going to do, and we knew things that could have been better that we wanted to do. And then we could also take a bigger chunk at like away from the traditional format because people get it now that it's going to be worth it. And so I think people were just more receptive to a lot of it. In our plan, we had like this long plan of like things we wanted to ultimately get to, but we knew we couldn't do it right out of the gate because people would fight it. You know what I mean?
Right.
So, but yeah, we just did it that second year. That one went really, really good. Again, the stands were packed. There was like people like scalping tickets that were free, but they had a monetary value on them.
That's cool.
And they were like, yeah, it was crazy. And then our ultimate goal too was to get like all the manufacturers up there and have like they do now at races where they have all the pit manufacturers in one spot. We were going to sell like pit passes, but that didn't pan out because they can't get their shit up here.
Yeah.
Jay did because Jay's a stud. But and then we did like a race.
They weren't even really doing that much back then either.
No, never. No one. I don't even think they had pop-ups. Yeah. To be honest.
Maybe
I don't think they did.
Not like
Associated didn't.
Yeah.
And then another thing we did that was really cool, and it was really tricky scheduling wise because we only had that short time that we had to squeeze it all in, but we did an autograph signing thing.
Yes, I think that's so cool.
Yeah, and then we did programs that had like, because we knew everybody that was going to be in the pro class. So we did a program thing, and it would say their name, where they're from, who they race for. And then we had like an exploded view of like, I think it was a truggy in there that explained like kind of what the car is and how it works and that there's differentials and here's what they look like. And
that's so cool.
Yeah, it was cool. And a lot of that stuff's on, we had a little Facebook page, and it's on there if people wanted to look at it. But.
The autograph signing, was it like a picture of the driver in his car and then he got to sign, or they just...
No, we weren't that organized.
I thought that would be cool.
We were like, oh, fuck, we got to do this. And then we're like, dude, no one's going to show up. No one's going to care. Because we're like, me and Gary are like, dude, we got a race to hold. We can't screw around with this.
Yeah.
And he's like, no, dude, we're doing it. People are going to love it.
Yeah. I think that's so cool.
So we just set up like a little makeshift chair, table, and then we set the trophies down, and then we gave people silver Sharpies so that because the background of the programs that had their drivers
that works too. Yeah,
were black so that they would just sign that. Yeah. And it was packed. We had to turn a bunch of people away because these dudes had to go race. I mean, there was kids. Kids don't care. They don't care who the person is.
Yeah.
They're like, oh, cool, this guy's a pro. I don't know.
We tried to do that on our South America tour when we went. We got some brochure, just posters done up, and for Joseph to sign. I mean, most of what RC people don't give a fuck about that shit. But spectators do, So
yeah, because they don't know. It's their first and only time they'll probably ever see these people, And and we had the best of the best there. And the racing, just by chance, was awesome.
Yeah,
the crowd was going nuts. It was cool.
Yeah, and it was just I remember one big tabletop or something you guys had that the guys could throw little whips or, just it was great, man. I remember watching a bit of it. How about in the second year, was you able to take your product and then go to some outside of the industry sponsors and get some, obviously you had to get dirt bikes and stuff. That wasn't, you guys didn't pay for that.
Yeah, we paid for the dirt bikes.
Really?
Yeah.
You guys forked out a lot of money.
Yeah, it was expensive. It was expensive. I don't remember the actual number. I have it in my notes, but because I have a little folder on that. But it was expensive. We got a deal on it. You know what I mean?
Right.
And so, and they provided people, and they set up like a little pop-up tent, with some dirt bikes out there, which is really all we wanted. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because we wanted it to show up and be like, this is a big deal. You know what I mean?
Treat it professionally, and people will take it professionally.
Yeah, and that's the whole motto we had on everything is like, if we act like this is a big deal, people are going to believe it. You know what I mean? So like from the parking lot, like the way to walk in, we sat banners up that whole way. We made sure the entrance and like the areas people were going, that they were like littered with banners and this and that's, and and
telling you,
making
man,
it look like it's a big deal. And we got an announcer. The first year we got an announcer that was just a local radio dude, because we wanted a guy that knew nothing about RC. And then we had an announcer that was purely for just the drivers. So we had a speaker up there for them only. That they would
which I think is
needs.
absolutely needed, man. We need to have that race announcer for the racer, like similar how they do it in RCGP. They got the race announcer for the racers, and then you need an announcer for the people, and so that they can explain. I think Nick Damon does a really great job of that, calling races so the average person can understand what's going on.
I agree. I think he does a really good job of like he does a good job of a balancing act between giving you, because he knows RC, you know what I mean? So he can give you that announcing that still caters to like the guy that knows RC, but if you're just Joe Blow, you can still get what he's talking about. Because the one interesting thing, because we didn't know how it was going to work with that radio dude, he's like, holy shit, dude, you see that car go flying over there? Like, he doesn't know who these people are.
Yeah.
We gave him a list, of the people, so he kind of had an idea. And then, but he's just calling it how he sees it. He's like, holy shit, look at that car. He just blasted that other dude. You know what I mean? Like, and people are like loving it, because that's how they're seeing it too. So it was cool.
I just think, like, as we talked before we came on air, imagine if you had the social media platforms that we have available to us now. This is when was the first one? Like 2000 and
it was 2005, I think, or 5. I think it was 5.
So, but I think the one that I really noticed was maybe a little later than that.
Yeah, we only did it twice, and it
was it twice?
Yeah, 2006, I think.
Well, I think 2006 is the one that I really noticed. Just imagine if you had the platforms that we have available to ourselves now, how much of a difference that would have made.
Yeah, because we did it 2007, 2008.
That's
so
what I was. Right, I knew I wasn't going crazy. I thought it was a little later than that.
Because it was really interesting. I remember Car Action and a lot of these magazines at that time were doing similar to like Starting Grid type stuff, where they had a forum and they would do kind of live updates, and they would upload pictures, and they would, it was as live as you could get it, and as like the best promotion you could possibly get. You know what I mean? They would send like photos of the track before like people got on it and things like that. But to be able to have the promotional power of a Facebook or an Instagram and things like that, it would have been rad.
Yeah.
And Live RC was out in 2008.
They did the Worlds.
I remember this.
They did the Worlds.
I remember this clearly because Matt was really like way ahead. Like, it would have been so much crazier if we would have just let him go. But me and Gary kind of had to scale him back as like the racers. Like, dude, we still need to have a race. You know what I mean? But like, I remember we were RCX and we were talking to Brandon and me and Gary really wanted Live RC to be there. So we're like, dude, the whole goal is just to show people that it could happen. We don't want just to show people that like it's possible, and we would hope that other people would follow the lead. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. We weren't trying to like do some proprietary thing and whatever. So, but you know, we were talking to Live RC guys. We really, really wanted them, and then Matt. You know, they're like, oh, well, you got to pay to get the thing up there, and then you got to pay our camera guys, and then you got to pay our this, and this. He's like, dude, I ain't paying you shit. and Brandon was like, what? He goes, dude, you think the Super Bowl? He goes, you think the Super Bowl pays ABC or something like that? He goes, no, you should be paying me.
He had the right attitude.
And Brandon goes, you're not the Super Bowl. And he goes, not yet. And then he just walked off. That's how it ended.
Where is this guy, Matt? I need to talk to him.
He's rad, dude. He's rad.
He's got the right attitude.
The reason the Manufacturers Cup ended is he had a fire. I think it was a light. I don't know what it was. But his hobby shop burnt down.
Oh, no.
And they owned this little strip mall that it was in. And the whole strip mall burnt down.
Oh, no.
And then he also had some personal issues outside of that. And so with that, the hobby shop never started again, and then it just kind of was over because he was the guy that was really putting the money on the line. Mm-hmm. And with that, and then through the hobby shop, he was able to like, you know, get all these tires there and have the abilities with the distributors and stuff to like get stuff there. And then if we didn't use it, we could send it back. And like to do that without that, it would be way more difficult. And, you know, it took all three of us to really to get it done. And so he was kind of out. Such
a shame. He seems like such a vision. He was definitely ahead of his time.
Dude, I mean, I couldn't believe he told Brandon that. And then I was like, holy shit. Like, we're never going to get him here.
Where is he? Are you still in communication with Matt now, or?
Yeah, a little bit here and there. A little bit here and there. He does construction now. He owns like a construction company, I think, with his brother. He's a good dude.
I would like to get his thoughts on RCGP so far. I mean, I'm pretty sure I know we talked about this before, but he must be like, wow, someone's trying to do what we was trying to do. Like,
yeah, he'd be like, dude, that's what I was talking about.
Yeah,
we got to take the Manufacturers Cup and go global because that's what he wanted to do anyway. I'm like, bro, you need to simmer down. You just got to get this done.
Oh man, you gotta think big, man. Got to think big and
He was pure promotion. Like the first year we were trying to do signups and we didn't have like card numbers. That's what it was. We were trying to start just practice and we didn't have card numbers. And we're like, where the hell's the card numbers? I don't get it. And they're like, Matt's got them. We're like, so I'm calling him. I'm like, Matt, where you at, bro? He's like, dude, hanging banners on the street. I don't know if I'm supposed to, but I'm doing it anyway. I was like, okay. I was like, well, we need those card numbers. He's like, dude, I got like 20 more banners to hang. I was like, bro, we got a race that has to start right now. We need those numbers. The banners can wait 2 minutes. He's like, nope, dude, we need them up now. I was like,
he sounds like JQ, but just
really similar.
Yeah.
And he rubbed a lot of people the wrong way too because he was pretty brash, told it how it was. It really, similar to JQ in that aspect, and he was spun up. So we always called him the Matty Matt Show because he tried to do anything, he would do it huge.
Yeah, well, JQ he sounds like the hyper Red Bull laced coffee version of JQ because JQ doesn't move very fast.
Exactly.
Yeah, good stuff, man. It was definitely ahead of its time. We have to. Is there any old footage of that on YouTube? It should be. I've seen some.
Yeah, there's a little, and then we were contemplating bringing it back, Gary and I, and so there's a Facebook page like Manufacturers Cup 2013, I think is what it's called. Yeah, that's what it is. And then there's pictures and a few videos. But see, that's what sucks too. It's so unfortunate because video cameras and YouTube and the upload quality, it's all so horrible. You know what I mean?
It's so.
And then that's the one part where we missed. We wished we just didn't have the manpower. We needed, like, RCGP is really good at. They're controlling their own content. You know what I mean? Like, that's what we really wanted.
Right.
But we just didn't have the manpower to do it because we're like, dude, no one got really pictures of like the crowd. Like,
Yeah, but guess what? Back in that day,
what's going on?
now people probably have the better capabilities with their cell phone than what you guys had video wise back then. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and then you got people doing their own videos and they got cheesy music and you're just like, what the fuck, man? You know what I mean? Like, it's just, you can't have control of everything.
Where is Gary nowadays?
Gary lives, oh God, I can't remember. He's in the Midwest somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
He's doing really good. He doesn't race anymore. He kind of was doing the vintage thing for a while, like he was like rebuilding all the old RC10 stuff and doing some things like that. But he doesn't really race anymore. He did do a little announcing for the live RC.
Yes, he was good at.
He did a really good job.
I think he needs to get back to doing that type. Well, I mean, they need to find somebody. As much as people didn't like Waldo, I enjoyed listening to him. You know, he knew what he was talking about.
Yeah, I think everybody brings something different. I think that, you know, again, it all comes down to what your ultimate goal is. You know what I mean? Like, you can have somebody in there, but it's really nice, in my opinion, to have someone who's like and that's what was really nice about Gary is like Gary was a legit professional. Like, he knew it, and he knew all those guys personally, and so he would bring in like, oh yeah, so and so just had a kid, and you know, bring kind of a backstory to these drivers as they're driving, because in those mains and qualifiers and, you know, lower mains, and like, you got to make a story. There's got to be something to talk about.
Yes, man. That's what we're missing in RC nowadays. And we have to.
Out there. And it's just doing the legwork. And I would always tell Gary, you know, ahead of time, and he did a really good job, I think, is getting information ahead of time and like planning, having, you know, I'm not an announcer, but I assume like the TV dudes, they don't just go off the hip. They have like these little stories that they have ready to rock.
Yeah.
And then if the opportunity comes up, then you can go right down the thing. It's already there for you. You know all that stuff. Yeah, he's got 2 kids, one that's this age and that age, and you know, whatever. He's originally from this town, or you know, whatever nonsense. At least it gives it more validity, because not everyone knows that stuff too.
Yeah,
you know?
I agree. Even some of these podcasts, when I research and stuff, I find out some information. I ask questions, like, and I've had a few guys. Well, I forgot all about that. How'd you find out about that? I say, oh, you know, it's about bringing content, man, and researching. Agree. So, Manufacturers Cup finished in 2008. What was then your path after that?
So after that, that's when there was no hobby shop, so I didn't work there. So I switched jobs. I switched actually before that too, but so Matt was kind of doing his thing, getting his stuff together. I was just working and just racing at that point, and always wanted to bring it back, and always thought that it would. You know what I mean? And got really, really close a couple times, but it never did. And so I was just racing at that point, back to just normal racer.
How did you feel when you saw A-Main take up that name, Manufacturers Cup?
I was not pumped. Not pumped. I was like, bro. And Matt came up with that name, and he really wanted to, which I think is genius again on his part, because back then there was the Offna Challenge, the Futaba Challenge, this challenge, that challenge, and then everyone else was calling their race of nationals. Like, you can just throw nationals on anything.
It still happens.
I mean? Yeah, exactly. So he was like, this race and this whole thing isn't for us. It's not for that. It's for the whole RC community. It's for all the manufacturers. So that's why he wanted to call it the Manufacturers Cup. So then, but you know what? A name's a name. It is what it is. But yeah, we were like, what?
Good stuff.
And then right about the same time, so it'd be 2008 or whatever, the Alabama Manufacturers Shootout, the AMS, started, and it was promoted to be kind of the same deal. Like, the way we looked at it, we're like, bro, these guys are doing the same thing. That's awesome. But we kind of felt like they were kind of like trying to piggyback off of the name as well. But I don't think they actually were. But we were at the same time, we're like, cool, dude. Like, hopefully it works out. But then they didn't do what you guys done. Yeah, it wasn't it wasn't the same. We were kind of bummed that we were like, oh man, we were hoping that they were going to do, the same kind of thing, because they had that arena and everything's all set up to do that same thing. But it's a great race.
People don't do this to lose money, man. You guys are special. That's why a lot of people with RCGP like, oh, they're just doing it to make money. Well, they actually spent a lot of their own money and losing it in the first year or two. You know what I mean? So
the idea is you got to put it out there.
Yeah.
And just risk it, and it would, in the end, the long term, it'll pay off.
Yes.
You just got to prove it to start.
Yeah, you do. And, if they wanted to make money, they'd make a race where you got 1,000 entries and do it like that. But, that's what everybody else is doing. And there's nothing wrong with that, but that's what everybody else is doing.
And teach their own for sure. But that's not my style, and I hate that stuff. Like, I hate all the classes. I hate them. Yeah, I don't like the 40 over. I don't like any of that.
Well, I'll tell you what. When you get 40 over, you're going to like it. But
I'm almost there, but I refuse. I won't do it. I promise you that. You'll never see my name.
All right. Well, let's get okay. So let's start talking about what you've been doing for the last few years that has, I get it. It kind of, you get criticized for it a lot. I don't know how you deal with it because I would go crazy and be like, screw you guys. I'll just stop this. But you are the man behind the whole top 25 rankings. So,
yep.
And, I know you and Joseph get at it sometimes. Well, you're actually very patient because I couldn't deal, I would be like, screw you all. You don't like it. Not my problem. But we have something.
Right.
Which... And I get it. I kind of have I understand how it works. I don't fully understand how it works, but we'll get into that. But let's talk about how and why you started this.
Sure. So when we from up here in the Northwest, we had our local hero, I guess. His name was Taylor Peterson. And he would go to...
Who's stupid fast.
Yeah, he was really fast. He was a full factory like Kyosho guy for a while. He's ran for Mugen and Losi and he was really good. So he would make all these mains. He would make the main pretty much for like a few years in a row. He made the main at every race he went to. He made it at Nationals. He made it at Nitro Challenge, Silver State, all these things. And I'd go to some of these races and I'd race too and get smoked. But he would always people would always come up to him, all the other drivers, and be like, hey, dude, congrats. That's super cool that you made the main. Like it was his first time. And he'd be like, dude, like I make it every time. What the hell is this guy talking about? And then like he never really ever got the respect, I think, that he deserved, especially with living up here and not being able to race against those guys on a weekly basis. He would show up cold turkey, Nitro Challenge when you can't even run here. It's his first time racing. At that time of year, you can't run at that time of year. First time racing, he would go down to Nitro Challenge and put it in the main. And so there was guys like him, and then there was like these other guys who are, we call them dark horses or whatever right now. But there was like a really good example was Josh Wheeler, because he would finish top 5 every single race ever, but he never got the respect because he never won. So no one ever put him in these categories of like, oh, so-and-so's good and da-da-da-da. He was never ever talked about, similarly to Taylor. So I was just curious. And then the way it all started is I figured, all right, well, I'm going to take these races and then these main races, the Nitro Challenge, the Silver State and the whatever, the Motorama or whatever big races. And I just took all the people that made those at those races, and then I just figured out what their average finishing position was at all those races, and then it was really interesting to me on where these people actually landed, you know what I mean? The people that are quote unquote were like the guys, you know what I mean? And then these other guys like the Wheelers and Taylors that were way, way up there that people would never even assume were there. Like, I can't remember. There was one back in the day. I remember I was like, what the hell is this guy doing there?
Taylor and the guys were in that a lot of these guys don't even race anymore. Like Carson Wainerman. Well, Josh Wheeler, I would consider one that people knew. He just kind of was at the end of his career. He wasn't racing no more. He was at Silver State here the other day, and I got to talk to him. But Carson Wainerman, I know I'm saying his name wrong. Bobby Tillman. These were those fast guys that would make
Matt
mains.
Gosh was another one. He probably didn't get the respect that he deserved back then.
They would make these mains, but they were just like that one step before, from getting a paycheck, I would say. So
yeah, right. And so it was designed just because I was curious. And then throughout that, I was talking to my brother about it, who's a big golf fan, and he's like, dude, you should do a ranking like the golf does. And I was like, well, it's golf, dude. But it's actually really, really similar in the fact that at the time and still, all these people race all over the country or all over the world, but they rarely are all in the same spot. So like, how do you rank somebody when they're not racing each other? It's really difficult. And so we were talking about golf, and golf's really similar. Rarely do all the golfers show up, like 3 times a year, maybe. They are all in one event. So I started researching how they did their rankings because I wasn't really familiar. And then I was like, it was like ready to be set up for RC because it's got different tiers. It uses the strength of field, of which I could figure that part out. And then the different tiers, so not every event's worth the same. So I just tailored it basically directly off of that and scaled it back a little bit because there's just to keep the math slightly easier. There's a few things that weren't in there. And then I calculated that for the US originally. And then there was a lot of European guys in there. And then I was showing a few people just around my area of what I had. And then I decided I wanted to do an actual world ranking because I already had some European dudes in there. So I got a hold of a few international drivers, JQ being one of them, who didn't respond, but not a big deal.
No, don't.
So I got to hold that to him if he's talking trash.
Yeah,
he never responded. He had his opportunity.
You probably would have got one word answers anyway.
I know.
Oh, it's so aggravating.
Yeah, it's all good. But I contacted them originally because I had to start somewhere because you can't calculate the strength of field without having some kind of somewhere to start. So I started with all the obvious races in the U.S. Then I contacted some overseas drivers, found out contacted some manufacturers and stuff, trying to find out what races I should start with there. And then used that initial data for like a couple of years, and getting these results was a pain, as it still is now. But getting all these results, then I originally started over. I used the same formula, but re-input all the numbers, so it was all over the exact same time. And then use that list or that initial ranking to start, I guess, and use that for the strength of field, to calculate the strength of field. And then as it grew and got bigger and bigger and more events and the list of drivers got way, way longer, then it just became more and more accurate as far as strength of field goes. And then some races just pop up that you're like, oh, dude, I didn't even know that race was really that big a deal. So that's kind of how it all evolved into what it is now. And then initially everything, it's over a rolling 2-year period. And all it is, a lot of people think it's way more complicated than it is, but realistically at its core, all it is an average finishing position at qualified events. That's it. So the reason the numbers are what they are is just because you would have you don't want to have an average of 2.335, place. It makes no sense. So it's just switched into numbers where the numbers are bigger, which is the same way that golf does it. But it's just an average finishing position over a rolling 2-year period at qualifying events. And what dictates a qualifying event is the strength of field. That's it. It doesn't matter the name of the race. It doesn't matter the format. It doesn't matter anything. It's purely off of who shows up.
Okay. So what is the minimum amount of drivers that qualifies, the minimum amount of drivers in the top 25 that count towards qualifying it to be a race?
So it doesn't actually work like that.
Okay.
The way it works is, and that's kind of a misconception, although usually it takes about 6 or 7, depends, because what it works is the numbers that you see on the left-hand side of the top 25 rankings. So that's that dictates their average finishing position, basically. That number, really. Okay. So all the way down through the top 50, through the top however many people, because every single person that goes to a race gets whatever they got at that race. So everyone's calculated. Any race ever that anyone's ever been to that's counted towards the top 25. So it's not just people in the top 25 that affect whether that counts, because those people in the 30 to 50 range and all the way down, if you get enough of those guys, they're just as valuable as, you know what I mean? Like 3 people with 20 points is just as valuable as 1 person with 60 points. Right. You know what I mean? Because it's just a deeper field. It's, I look at it like it's more dangerous for a racer if they screw up, and there's a lot of those mid-level dudes, you're gonna you potentially are not making the main at that point. But if it's a really shitty field outside of like those top 6 drivers, then I look at it like if you're a top 5 driver, a top 25 dude, there's zero reason why you shouldn't finish in the top 5 if there's 5 there. You know what I mean? But so it's everybody's calculated in, not just top 25 people. So you can't really say there's a set number. And that's where RCGP, that's why that first one didn't count. Because it's such a short field that they don't get any of those extra people helping it count. You know what I'm saying?
So I get that.
Yeah, so it's a little bit tricky the way that works, but the other one did count because they had enough people that it didn't matter who else showed up.
Okay. How about I see like a lot of people like Martin Walenka, Yannick Igon, and these guys who don't race much. So I'm guessing the less you race, if you're on there, it helps you out, kind of?
Well, that depends on how you look at it, but yes and no. So, because it's an average finishing position, right? So, if you only have 3 inputs of data there,
yes,
just using an extreme here, like if you do good in all 3, that's good. But if you screw one up, that one's going to hurt you more than if you had 15 inputs. You know what I mean? So racing less, like, yes, it kind of can. And, if you do good in all of them. Yes. But having more events is always better. And it's going to be more accurate. Like, some of those things can get a little bit inaccurate, but it's also one of the downfalls to a ranking system and the way that it's set up. This is one of the biggest downfalls, is similarly to golf or tennis. Like Tiger Woods, when he went through all his stuff, he was still the world number 1 for like a year and a half. Yeah. And a lot of people are like, how's that even possible? And it's like, well, because all those events still have to, he was so far ahead.
Right.
It takes a long time for all those to fall off, because over the rolling 2 years, those things, an event from 2 years ago is still helping you or hurting you, depending on how you look at it. But until those drop off, then you start to see those people start to clock off, like Martin Walenka, for instance.
Right.
He's on his downward slide now because a lot of this stuff's starting to fall off. So you'll start to see him start dropping drastically.
Well, he's going to the Euros next week, supposedly, so he might do well. He might not drop.
I'm interested in that. That's one of my people that I'm interested. I think he could do some damage.
I like Walenka, man. He wears his heart in his shoulders. His heart in his shirt. He doesn't take any shit, and he's good. He's a really talented driver. He's older. And he's good. Actually,
he's actually a good example too of like someone that like you wouldn't. Without on the rankings, there are people like, who's this dude? But if you really look it up, he always does well.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Like, it's really designed for those people. Everyone knows who the top 5 drivers are in the world.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like, you can argue the order however you want, but realistically, it's not for those guys. It's for these other people, to see the CJ Jellins or the Ongaro before he really hit the map. You know what I mean? Like, he was there and you could see it coming. A lot of people are like, where'd this guy come from? It's like, dude, if you pay attention, like I know you're a huge fan and you look at a ton of all the results all over, just like myself. And it's like, you could see that coming. It was no surprise if you were paying attention.
I knew Ongaro was going to take the world by storm in 2015 when he did well at his own track. And I was like, then he went to the Nats, the Worlds, and people, that kid was so fast, but he just made so many mistakes. I was like, yep.
Yeah.
That's going to be a world champion. So said, so done. How long did all of this take to put together and then eventually put it out there?
So originally I had it going for, I think it was 2 years. I think I had it going 2 years after I made that initial thing, so that it would kind of work itself out. And then at that point, I was just doing it kind of on my side, on the just as a hobby, I guess, you know what I mean? Which it still is, but and then I was showing some friends of mine that are racers, and they were like, dude, you should just make like a website or something, because there's nothing like that out there. And I was like, all right, well, screw it. So I did, and then that's when I released it, and then it just kind of went from there. And then people initially hated it, and some people liked it, and then it depends on where people are on how they feel about it.
Yeah. When did you officially release it?
God, that's a good question. I was just trying to look on the Facebook thing, on the Facebook page, because that's right when I did it, and I don't know anymore to look on where it started. It's been a while though.
Yeah, it has. Joseph's ears must be ringing, because he sent me a message. I said, yeah, I'm recording with you. And he goes, oh, I have a question for him. And he just says, why not push the RC world towards more of a series by naming the races that count for the top 25 before the season? But I think you kind of explained that.
Yeah, and that's a really, really, really common question. Having set events, right? Like that's huge. However, to do that and to do it fairly, sort of, I guess, is like, well, then can you count like Roar Nationals or the Euros? Because not everyone has the opportunity to go to that race.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? But then, okay, so if you say you don't count them, then so that's not going to factor into the driver's ranking at all. To me, that doesn't make any sense, because that's a really hard thing to do, to win one of those.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? And then like the other thing is, say I set these races, because it's pretty, I mean, you can almost tell what's going to count, because it's pretty much the same races every year, but not always. But say I say P&B is going to count, and everyone doesn't go for some reason. You know what I mean? Like, then what? Yeah. Or what if a manufacturer's cup pops up and everyone shows up? What if someone decides to do a manufacturer's cup type event and every single driver's there? Then that should count. You know what I mean? Like, so my theory is, rather than exclude anything, I'll just include everything.
Yeah,
doesn't matter what it is. So that's the reasoning for it. And a lot of people say, oh, you should just, another argument would be on the same lines, is just have a series, basically. Say these races count and it's a series. Well, again, you couldn't count Roar. You couldn't count the Euros. You couldn't count any of those things, which, again, I think is, part of a driver's full body work. You know what I mean? And so that's tough. And a ranking and a series ranking are completely different things. They do completely separate deals. Because I've had people contact like, oh, I want Top 25 to sponsor a race, and it'll be the finale, and whoever wins that's the best in the world. And I'm like, but it doesn't have an end. There is no end. Yeah. It doesn't reset after that. So they're just completely different things. But it would make it easier. But to me, I feel like it would make it easier for people to understand, but it would be less accurate. Gotcha. And I feel like I've tried to make all the decisions towards accuracy, because I understand that it's really hard for people to understand, but on how it all works and things like that. But I don't want to sacrifice accuracy, I guess.
How much of your time does this take up?
The hardest part, it's not that bad. I've got it pretty good now. Another question I get is like, when am I going to do the truggy and the electric side of things? And it's like the initial data collection is the hardest part, because finding results sucks. Yes. It's really, really difficult. I wish, and I don't have the ambition to do it, but I wish there was just a master website that had all the results. So you could look at, in 2 seconds, you can look up who won the 2010 Nitro Challenge. You know what I mean? Like, you can't. You can look at pictures and someone will have the top 15, the name.
Trust me, dude.
You don't know anyone else. It's so hard.
I feel your pain just researching for guests.
Yeah.
It's very hard.
It's hard. Yeah, and it's a lot to manage. One of the things I screw up on all the time is when people make switches. It's like, whoa, dude, like I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Like one of the most recent one is Walenka. Like I didn't know he left. There was no real announcement. That he left.
He kind of had like
gone.
a nervous breakdown or something.
Yeah, but it was just over.
But I get it. He was just like, I was number 1 S-Works driver, and now I'm on the way down to like 6th. So
I know.
It sucks for him, man. It really does. Okay. Yep. All right. So, I gotta ask this because I get some criticism for the podcast. Some guys don't like when I curse or whatever. I know Joseph loves criticism because he takes it so good. But how do you deal with the criticism? Because it's been some heated arguments on Facebook over this stuff.
Yeah, I don't mind it actually, because there's times when basically every single time I understand the criticism, because there's things with rankings, whether it be college football, whether it be golf, tennis, whatever, like it's just the nature of the beast. No one's ever going to be happy. You know what I mean? So I get that. But every single time I put in a race or, and put it in the thing, and then it comes out, and then I look at the new rankings, just like everyone else, it's new to me once I hit enter. So when that happens, I'm always like, what? How the hell that guy? How'd that even happen? And then I got to go back and look at the things, be like, okay, that makes sense. Now I get it. You know what I mean? So I understand, like, when people see things, it's like, what? How's that even possible? So I kind of like it in a way because it keeps me on my toes, and it really, in my opinion, it solidifies my position and why things are the way they are. Or there's a possibility that someone will say something and be like, that's a good idea. I should do that. Like, JQ gave me a suggestion just recently, and I was like, it's a good idea.
Yeah.
That's something I should do.
He told me about that.
Yeah, and so that's something I want to implement. But the criticism can get old sometimes, because the one thing that frustrates me is when someone says, I release new rankings and someone says, this list is shit. Okay, well, cool, dude. Like, right on. But what's your problem? Because obviously you see something you don't like. Mm-hmm. So what is it? And I can explain to you how it got that way. You know what I mean? Always, I can explain. It's maybe not always easy to understand, but like, rather than just throwing out this is shit, I welcome to someone say, how's it happen that Lutz wins this race and doesn't move up a spot? I'm totally welcome to that, but like, don't just put a post out there. This is shit. Like, that makes no sense to me.
Yeah. I've been guilty of complaining about it too, but I've kind of
complain. I understand. I get that. You know what I mean? Like, I would have complaints. I go back and double check myself because it doesn't seem right either sometimes. You know what I mean?
But I also want to understand how it works. And, I kind of get it. And people get upset. Well, why is this? I'm just like, man, you guys got to understand. Like, this is how I can't fully explain it, how it works.
Yeah.
But I get it. And that's all it comes down to.
It's tricky. I've actually had, and I'm not going to say his name. I wanted to put him on blast at the time, but I don't want to be like that. So, because I don't want to start any wars here. But I had a driver tell me that it was illegal, and he didn't want his name associated on that list, period, no matter where he is. He's like, don't use my name for your list. Wow. And I was like, bro, really?
Blast him.
But at the same time, that person eventually got to number 1, and they were all about promoting being number 1 ranked driver in the world, which I found ironic.
You're gonna have to tell me who that was when we get off the air, even though
I will off the record.
Yeah.
But yeah, I thought it was hilarious. I almost messaged him and said, "Hey man, I thought you wanted off this thing."
I think I have a clue who it was, so we'll talk about that afterwards.
All right.
All right. So what does the future look like? What do you want to happen with the top 25 here over the next few years? What's your goal?
I think a really good, there's a lot of goals that I would like to do, but realistically, as maybe as bad as this sounds, like, I don't want to put the effort in because I don't want it to be a lot of work.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Right now it's kind of easy to manage, but what I would really, really like, which would be really too time consuming for me to do, is like, I would like to have it set up where you have the top 25 rankings, and then you could click on the driver, you could see their little bio, who they raced for, whatever, and then a list of what events they've actually attended and what those results were at that event.
Mm-hmm.
And then one thing the World Golf Ranking site does, which is rad, and I'm not website savvy enough to even attempt this, but like it would be really cool to be able to be like, all right, I want to compare that driver to this driver, because they can do that on the World Golf ones, and then it pulls them both up, looks at both their results, and it would be easier for people to understand, but it would be a lot of work.
Mm-hmm.
And the suggestion JQ gave me was having, showing where everyone finished at all these events, which that's not that unmanageable, because it's really similar to what I'm showing on the back end that's used for the calculations.
Mm-hmm.
But so that is manageable, and I would really like to do the 10th scale, but it seems to be more challenging than I anticipated.
And then you have to get into all that stocks.
Fuck, I don't do that shit.
Yeah, that's not,
because that's dumb. No offense to the stock people of the world, but it's about the premier classes.
Yes, it should be. I feel that.
Which is why I started with 8th scale, because it's the one worldwide class that is the top of the class. The Formula One of RC.
Nitro is the glory. I have nothing against stock. I just feel stock should be stock, but I guess it's for the tinkerers and they like to do all that stuff. I'm not got time for that. If I'm gonna race 10 scale, I want to race on an AstroTurf, like I did in England. Put whatever motor I can on there and just send it without responsibility. With responsibility. Remember that. Send it with responsibility.
Yeah, exactly.
All right.
With responsibility.
Well, I mean, the top 25. At least we have something going. It gets people talking.
Yeah, and I think one of the other complaints that I get, there's a couple of them, but one of the other complaints is like, I see people like, oh, this list is shit. It doesn't mean anything anyways. You know what I mean? And it's like, true, it has no meaning. And does it affect driver salaries? No, maybe not. Probably not. You know what I mean? But what it is good for is those Josh Wheelers. Or a good example, Tebow was up there for a long time, and Tebow's like, oh, everybody's like, Tebow's on the outs. And he's on the downhill slide. He's getting old, whatever. It's like, dude, Tebow was like still finishing in third every race he showed up to. Like, that's hard to do. You know what I mean? And so he was higher in the rankings, and people probably would have expected him to be. But it's just, it's tough.
It is, man. You can't please everybody. Most of the times I have 99.9% of people talking to me about the podcast. They love it. People don't realize the time that goes into doing them. So I can imagine that it takes time to do what you're doing, and to have somebody to criticize. And speak it. But I mean, Joseph was one of the biggest critical people about it. But hey, man, if it was easy, everybody would do it.
Yeah, and I guess going back to what does it mean? It doesn't mean anything. And like, what does it actually add to RC? I mean, people say whatever, but like, I look at it like this, and it's, in my opinion, it's sad. It's sad for Gary Guess is another person that was one of those little mid-level dudes that never got respect. But I look at it like this: if you're David Ungaro, right, and you're telling your buddies, fucking 5 years from now, or 10 years from now, or whatever, or 20 years, who knows, but whatever, or just some guy that you meet. Oh, I race RC cars. Okay, cool. That's cool. Are you good at it? Yeah, I'm pretty good. You know what I mean? I'm pretty good. I won the Worlds, or say you haven't won a Worlds, and you're like, well, I won Nitro Challenge, I won Silver State. That means zero to those people. They don't know what that is. You know what I mean? Even RCGP. Oh yeah, I won the RCGP. It's like a World Series thing, but they don't know what it is. But every single person can understand. Forever, you can say, dude, yeah, like 5 years ago, I was the number one ranked driver in the world. Everyone can associate what that actually means. You know what I mean? Whether it's 100% accurate or whether it's whatever, that's, if you don't believe it or whatever, and it's a ranking, so nothing's ever 100% accurate. But, that's something any person from anywhere understands. Yeah. I'm ranked this in the world, period. You know what I mean? And I think that holds a lot of value to Joe Blow in the world.
Yeah. I get it, man. I get it.
Yeah.
Hey,
because there's a lot of those guys, like you were talking, the old school guys we were talking earlier about, that people may not recognize their names, but you could say they're here in the world, and you're like, okay, well, that person was good.
Yeah,
whether they were actually fifth or not.
That I actually got that from the last podcast, one of the podcasts just before this, with Jason Ashton, and people was like, well, I don't know who he is. It's like, dude, he was one of the fastest guys in the world at one point. Yeah, exactly. You know what I mean? He was
another great example, and people never got the respect either.
Well, he also said he put in a minimum amount of work, but that was a good podcast that I done with him. I enjoyed that. That's one of the reasons I do this, because I want to get these people around the world to know these guys who helped pave the way to what we're doing now. So I get it. For sure. I gotta get Josh Wheeler on there. It'd be good to get like Taylor Peterson, Carson, Bobby Tillman, and those guys on her too.
You know what I think would be really cool, and I think someone should do it. That's not me, because I'm not a words guy necessarily, but it would be cool. Like, it'd be a great live RC thing, to be honest. Or Neil Buggy or something like that, is to go back and look at all these guys that were right on the cusp and then quit. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Because there was that Charwin. He was super good. Like, he was right there, And then there's the Warnemonts and the and Drew.
Drew Moeller.
Drew Moeller. Yeah, there's all these guys that were right there, and then just dropped off the map.
You know what? It kind of reminds me of that meme of the diamond, the guy who's
totally.
But I could totally understand why, because they probably put a lot into it, and it's so few people that make a living out of this. And I think that's what people are delusional about a lot when they get into this. I'm going to be a pro and make money. No, it's only a few people, and there's people that are so talented that have gotten there. They're like right there. They're like that 6 inches away from hitting the diamond mine, but they got tired.
Yeah, it's so interesting to me. It'd be interesting to get those people and see why they got out, what happened to them since, and go back and look at some of their highlights. You know what I mean? Like, Warnemont's a great one.
Yeah.
He got third at the Worlds, and then a year later, he wasn't even racing.
Yeah, he's doing full truck stuff.
It's crazy.
I'm going to hit him up and see if he wants to come on the podcast. And TP and all these guys, because that's all I got. I got time. I'm doing a podcast a week, so it's good to get on there. Because it's hard to get these pro guys to come on and talk now. So we'll see how it works.
Well, and the interesting thing, which the Ashton one I thought was really good, because I think you get a different
aspect.
A different aspect, because they don't have to protect their sponsorship or their this or that. It's a real story of how it really is going down. And
that's what I liked about it, and that's what he said. I'm going to be brutally honest. I said, good. That's what I want.
Like, it was interesting to hear about him, the lack of preparation, which I think is awesome, but probably not that unheard of for a lot of those people at that time too. And maybe some people now.
Yeah, he said, when you're getting paid $500 a month, you put in $500 worth of work.
Yeah, exactly.
I can understand.
Yeah, that's
that.
crazy. Yeah, and there's that's the other thing too. That's what was really interesting about that podcast as well, is everybody's like, oh yeah, these guys are making thousands of dollars, and to hear, back in the heyday there was so much more money in RC. It's like, well, obviously not. I mean, from what I understand, Mugen is probably one of the lower paying people out there,
always
but
have
still,
been.
It's not. These people aren't getting. There's very, very few that are making a really good wage on racing.
Yeah, well, there's probably 3 that make really good living. Probably a little bit more, maybe 5 that make decent, and then there's guys that are just like, some of these guys, I don't know how they do it.
And for any of those people that haven't been to a big race, dude, they gotta go. Like, you just have to. If you're into RC, you have got to go at some point and see these guys drive, because I get people message me all the time when there's a P&B or a whatever, and some guy finishes like 10th, you know what I mean, in that race, and beats a Tebow or Lutz, or beats a couple of pros, and they're like, hey, how come I'm not on the list? Like, dude, that's one race.
Yeah, it's more than that.
These guys go anywhere to anyone's home track and put it on them every time. Yeah. Like, that is so hard to do.
So talented,
it's amazing.
Man. It's so talented.
Yeah.
All right, let's talk a little bit about the future of RC, and then we have to go to the 10 questions, 10 second. What do you... All right, well, I guess a better question is, how do you feel about the RC industry right now?
That's a great question. I think it's doing better. I think it's going in the right direction in a way.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? I think that people are. I agree with you 100%. I wish people. It looks like there's some drivers that are taking advantage of their platform,
Mm-hmm.
and I think that's a great thing. And I think that trend is going to continue. You know what I mean? With people being on, like you always say, Ronfalk does a really good job.
Yes.
You know what I mean? And I think that trend is going to continue. So I like that part of it.
Mm-hmm.
And the one thing that I think is really, really bad, which we could go on and on for hours and hours, is the sponsorship thing. But I don't see it going away. So
No.
It is what it is. But I think it's actually in a decent spot.
Okay.
I think that it's on the cusp of like going one way or the other, you know what
Yeah.
I mean? And I hope it goes the right way.
I think so. Yeah, it's on that edge. We got to push it towards the. We got to, I'm not even going to go on my soapbox,
Yeah.
but you know what I'm going to say.
I think it's okay though.
Yeah, we just need new people in her. What do you think What do you think the future of RC is, though?
I think the future of RC I think the RCGP I think is a great thing, right? And I think it has its own challenges that maybe, and I don't, nobody has the answers, but there's some things that I would maybe do differently.
Right.
But I think it's great. I think what they're doing right now is something that is bringing value to RC. Whether that's promoting it to 1 million people, extra new people right now, I don't really, I guess I'm with Jeff a little bit on this one. I haven't seen it yet, but it's so new that it hasn't had a chance yet, really.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I think things like that are going to be a good thing. And I still, like JQ and like all the people with the RCGP have said, I think there's always going to be a place for both. I think things like that and these standard traditional big events are going to always be in existence. I don't think no one's going to replace anybody, and I think that's good.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
How about,
because it's just, they both have their pluses and minuses.
yes. How about, do you think we'll see something like Manufacturers Cup, more geared to spectators and whatnot?
I would hope so.
No money,
what I
though.
would like to see, what I would like to see, and it may be the goal, I don't know, but what would be really cool is the RCGP growing to where they get all the big drivers, which I see that happening. I think it'd be really cool if they grew enough, and then there's enough money in there involved to where they could do, instead of just doing these races at tracks, they can go and do a Manufacturers Cup thing at all these countries. You know what I mean?
That would be great.
And add a spectator level to it, because it adds a different dynamic and different energy. And
I agree.
And these people are and not a hit towards RCGP at all, because every race is like this. They're doing the exact same race they do every time. Different track, same people, same thing for the most part. You know what I mean? But when you add people and energy and music playing, and it's intense, you know what I mean? It's a different vibe.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I think that would be such a cool direction in the future, because again, on camera, that's going to look even better. You know what I mean? That would be really killer. I hope that it gets to that, or if not them, I hope somebody does that. I think there's a lot of people that have the skills and the resources to do it. Like Joey would be a great one. He's got all the talent and connections to do that. It'd be super killer.
Well, I went to Silver State this year, and I was kind of disappointed that it could be so great, but it wasn't. Like, spectator-wise, it could be so great, but it was really dusty, and I knew people. But then again, you can't do it when you got 700 entries. It's not going to be.
See, that's the problem. I agree 100%. Like, it's ultimately down to money. You know what I mean? And I don't respect anyone for that. That's their deal.
He's got to make his money, man. I understand that.
And it's not just a Joey thing. You know what I mean? Joey's he's done a lot for the hobby.
Oh, I think, of course. I would never take that away from him.
And But I wish people would look at it like, okay, let's scale back to like 300 entries.
But then you would have to update.
And this is something I really, really agree with JQ on. Scale back the number of entries, raise the prices of the entries, and then provide a better event.
Yes.
With more racing, because people are getting there more racing just by adding less, not any more people, just more entries in different stupid classes.
Yeah.
Like, it's stupid. Like, just do a smaller entry list, provide a better value. Everyone equally gets more racing. And then if you can add the spectator thing in, even if you sell tickets for like $5, dude, you know what I mean? Like, and you really put in a little bit of effort and you sell them for $5, you get 5,000 people. Like, that's $25,000, dude. There, you made your money back. Like,
and then you have to do all the legwork, like what you guys done for the Manufacturers Club, tickets, radio work, all that type of stuff.
But the thing is like back then you needed radio stations and like a TV commercial. Like now,
you don't need that now.
You can get so much done on Facebook and Instagram, and like it's so much easier to reach random people now than it was before. Like it's crazy, but I would really hope that people. I would love it. And if anyone ever wants to go for it and they have any questions how we did it, I'm an open book, dude, because I want to see it happen again.
Yeah, I agree, man. I mean, but then again, it's changed, man. It's like, you know, and like I said, I have nothing against these guys having these big races because they have to make money. It costs money to do this. But, yeah, I don't know, man. I think that those big races I think there's a place for them too. I'm not discounting them, right?
And I know that you're not either. It's like there's a place for that because it's kind of like Silver State at Boulder City. Like that place fucking sucked. It was like, dude, it did.
Yeah.
You know, you're miserable. You're out there. The weather sucks. There's sand blowing around. You're sunburnt. The track blows because it's all blown out. But it's like the Baja 5,000 or whatever the hell that thing is of RC. Like that's part of it.
Yeah, it is.
So you did it. You know, so I think there's a place for that. But I think people start measuring dicks here. Well, my race had 800 entries. Well, I had 900. I agree.
And that doesn't mean that it's the best race.
I want to hear people.
Yeah. That's what I would say. Don't tell me about people. Don't tell me about entries. Tell me how many people were there. And you know, you don't.
Because I'll go put a race on where there's 70 classes and everybody gets one qualifier and one main.
Yeah.
And then you're like, oh, dude, I had 2,500 entries.
Yeah,
cool,
I don't.
Dude.
Yeah, we got to get out of that, man. It's not about entries. It's about people. All right. Well, my last question is before we move on, actually, you know what? I'm gonna make this a part of the 10 question, 10 second segment.
All right.
Are you gonna race again, man? Don't make any excuses, man. You got to get back racing. You got a great thing going on up there. What type of cars you got right now?
Right now, I have a Kyosho buggy. It's
that's you in Monty Houston.
The MP4, I think, and it's 100% stock. And you'll have a little respect for this. I'm rocking it old school, dude, with the O'Donnell head on it.
Very good. I haven't seen an O'Donnell head in so long.
Yeah, I saw some on eBay, dude, for like $5, and I bought like 4 of them.
Do people just not realize you had to that was a status symbol back in the day?
Yeah,
and you could not get.
That's my throwback deal, dude.
You know,
because they were unattainable.
Yeah, and then you didn't care how much weight it added. You had to have one. Like you weren't cool unless you had one. If you was really cool, you got a fully unanodized one. You got one to match your paint scheme somehow, some way. But
that's right.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna race. I'm gonna do it. I've been working on a real car right now, so it's been taking all my time, and it was really, really close. Otherwise, I usually hit the one here in Spokane, and I go out there and get smoked.
Oh, they got the one in Walla Walla coming up at the end of the month, so.
Yeah, I haven't been there in a long time, and it's good usually.
Cool. All right, man. Well, I appreciate your time coming on. We're gonna go into the 10 question, 10 second segment now. Are you ready for that?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. Number 1, what is your favorite 8-scale platform of all time?
You mean like buggy or truggy?
Buggy, yeah.
Like brand of buggy?
Yes.
Dude, jamming. Duh.
Yeah. You know what? People won't realize. And then they came up with I think they were like one of the first teams to come up with like the 16 millimeter shocks. Too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. I remember we had those at the Nationals. And I remember, Taylor. I remember that Nationals in St. Louis really well because all the Kyosho guys first came out with their big bore shocks, and then Taylor was the top Kyosho guy, and he still had the little ones because he never got them.
I gotta hit up Taylor James. Paul used to call him Taylor Cruz all the time. So he looked like Tom Cruise. So
yeah, exactly.
I gotta hit him up and get him on her because man, he just kind of at the peak of his career, he just went boom. I'm going to school and that's it.
Yeah,
and I mean,
good decision.
Was the good decision, but I've seen he's tried to get back into it, but he just has not gotten back into it. And but he was he was good. That kid had a world championship in him. So good.
I agree.
So good.
He was sneaky fast.
Oh yeah, I watched him at the farm too, and if he was 1 inch off every pipe, every corner, it was amazing. Okay, number 2, the jamming team was
the best ever, dude.
It was badass.
It was fun. It was so fun because we took it serious on the track, and everybody made sure we were prepared, and we truly worked as a team, and those are some of the best times racing. And we talk about, a lot of us are on a group text and we talk about it all the time. And unfortunately it'll never ever be like that again, but it was such a cool thing because we had Chad Bradley at the peak of his career and Taylor James and I was a lot better then, but I was never on near those guys level. You know what I mean? But everybody still valued everybody's input. They'd be like, "Hey, what do you think of that sway bar change?" And they would legitimately, take your input. They weren't like too cool for school,
Yeah.
It was just such a cool thing.
We kind of do that. Well, that's kind of what I kind of wanted to do with JQ Racing.
I think they do a really good job of that, actually.
And we try to my goal is when we go to one of these races and anybody that supports us, I want that person to feel like they're full factory, and we would like to have fun. We have beer in the cooler, we talk shit, we crack jokes on each other, and even when Joseph is in a good mood, he gets in it, and So I think Dagani always says this. He goes, "Man, hanging out in the JQ pits is like being back in the pits back in the day, when we had fun and stuff like that." So good stuff.
Yeah, because people, that's part of the downfall, I guess, of social media too. Is like, everybody's so cautious of what they say and do, and God forbid you have a beer in your pit. So it's like, fuck, relax.
Oh, no.
Just trying to have fun.
Don't talk to me. I drink when I
yeah, right. Exactly. Exactly.
Who's faster, you or Ryan?
Gosh, he always was faster than me. That's a tough one for me to admit. He's always faster, and he's still, to this day, like we were talking before we started recording, we're all talking about a bunch of our friends that used to race together coming back and getting the band back together. And he swears up and down, if he comes back, he can win any race we have up here against anyone.
Well, he should come back. He should get a JQ. You should too.
I know. That's what he said. He goes, I'm gonna get stuff. I'm gonna come back. I'm gonna win, guaranteed. First race, I'll TQ at least a round, and I'll have a good chance of winning.
All right.
It's like, all right, buddy.
Cool.
So we'll see.
Number 4, who's your favorite pro driver ever?
My favorite pro driver ever is Ryan Mayfield. Because awesome. He can do things with a car that are, unbelievable. Like, if he's the one guy that if I was actually good, he's the one guy I would not want behind me with like 4 minutes to go.
Yeah, he's awesome.
Because he's the only guy that can take out like 10 seconds off of someone somehow. There's no time to be made up. He
can make a mistake and still go faster than most people. That's what's amazing about him.
And the way he drives, it just looks differently. And who reminds me of that similarly is Ongaro. Ongaro's car, which maybe has to do with why everybody has this gyro nonsense talk, it looks different on the track the way it drives. It's just different. It doesn't even look the same.
He's just
talented. It's so weird.
Dude. He's just talented, and people can't accept
that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Number 5, Jammin' Jay is.
Dude, an icon.
He is, most definitely. I like him. Gotta get him on this podcast.
Yeah, he's. He's got so many stories, and he is such a wealth of knowledge and such an interesting guy.
When you get off this, you say, "Hey man, I just recorded with Keenan. I had fun. Gotta get Skype," because we almost spent an hour talking about old school stuff. You know?
Yeah.
So be cool.
He's awesome. He's got some really, really good stories.
All right. Number 6. What's the best? You've traveled a lot. So what's the best track you've raced on?
Gosh, that's a tough one. My 2 favorites would be the Nitro Pit was really cool. It had great dirt, no blind spots, but it was really, really big because I can't see that well, I guess, because I really struggle if it's really far away. And that track was awesome. My other one is Thunder Alley because it's so unique. And it's got, again, great dirt, but yeah, that's I feel like they don't have any big events anymore, which is unfortunate. But that track's killer. Yeah,
they don't. And you know what? I've been there twice, and I've never turned a lap on it. So.
Oh really? You're missing out. I think it's fun.
My wife's asking me what I want for supper. For lunch. Hold on. Here's my notes. Okay, what is your favorite hobby outside of RC?
Well, right now, my brother and I both, we're into classic cars. So I've been building for a couple of years, 1930 Ford Model A. That's getting really, really close. Hopefully start it tomorrow, actually. But, so yeah, that's classic cars and going to car shows and mainly just driving them though.
Okay. We're going to do 11 questions. So.
All right.
Who is, in your opinion, one of the best drivers, most talented guys you've ever seen that probably could have made it, but kind of just didn't?
Yeah, that's a tough one, man. I think Taylor Peterson. I think he had so much raw talent for the odds that he had stacked. I mean, not the odds, but for the things he had stacked against him as far as like racing up here, which when he got really good, the racing was really strong up here because it was the peak of like my brother and Marcus Anzavino was really, really fast. And it was really strong in the Northwest at that time. But, to go down, it's kind of like Tessman. It's pretty incredible what Tessman's able to do when he got on the map because you can't even race half the year. And then you got to show up and race against these guys that have been turning laps for 6 months, you know what I mean? Nonstop against the best in the world. That's really, really hard. I think he had a lot of raw talent, and I think that he was trying to make it in RC, and he made some decisions sponsorship-wise that held him back from really winning a couple of big races. I think he was there.
Yeah. I've heard that about him a couple of times from a few people as well.
Because I think that's a big thing that people screw up on, and I think it's all the way down to the very beginning level guys. Like, you want to get sponsored so bad that you take a sponsorship from some car or some tire or some motor or electronics that end up ruining your racing, and then you're over it.
Yeah,
and it hurts you from progressing.
We said like what was one of the biggest baddest moves ever in RC, and myself, Jeff, and JQ came up to the conclusion was Hara when he left HB to go S-Works. He just hasn't really been the same since.
Who's that?
Atsushi Hara. You
know what? Yeah, but he's such an interesting guy.
Yeah,
because he really, and I got a lot of flack on the top 25 about him, but he really didn't ever do well. He would go to Nitro Challenge and get smoked.
Yes.
Or he'd go to Silver State and get smoked, even with the hot bodies. But come Worlds time, somehow he's incredible.
It's crazy. It's insane.
Yeah, it blew my mind. But you're right. He dropped off the map at that point. That was unfortunate.
All right. Well, being as you take you're a fan of RC and you are like me, you kind of watch results from both sides of the pond. Right now, the Euro scene and the American scene are really strong. I love it. I think it's Euro versus America right now. I still think that in 8 scale, the Euro guys just have just a hair, just a touch, bit more. going on right now. But I also understand that the American guys, they run a lot of 10 scale. They run multiple classes, much more than what the Euro guys do. But what about Europe versus USA in 8 scale right now?
I think that the European field is a little bit stronger. Outside of, I mean, if I just start knocking off like somewhat like equals, you know what I mean? You take a Ongaro out, then you take Mayfield out, and then you take a Battier out, and then you take a Tessman out. You start doing that down the line, and the European drivers are pretty strong, dude, right now. It's really, really hard. I don't know. I think it's really, really close, but I'd probably give it a little bit to the European guys. However, like you said, the ability of the U.S. guys and some European guys do it too, but I just don't know if people, obviously you do, but like I don't know if people really understand how impressive it is for the Mayfields and Cavalieris and Thibauts to be on the top of every single thing they drive, no matter what it is. Like it's phenomenal. Like that's
man. These guys are talent.
I mean, it's incredible. But I believe also that driving's driving. So them not practicing as much 8 scale, I don't know if that really is that big a factor. But to be able to go and be the contender at anything you show up at with whatever your radio is connected to is pretty impressive.
Yeah, I think the 10 scale Worlds is going to be really interesting this year, and I can't wait for it. So
yeah,
it's going to be great.
I think it would be really cool, like Cavalieri, how he dabbles in 10 scale every once in a while. I think it'd be really cool if everyone just said, screw it, and just said, let's do it. Let's go to 10 scale Worlds.
Yeah.
And 10 scale electric on-road Worlds.
Oh, yeah. I had this discussion on another podcast who we think is probably the best all-around driver. And it's coming down to me, like, Cavalieri and Coelho. And I have to throw Atsushi in there because he's a world champion in both. But Cavalieri is the one.
I wish Bruno focused a little more on 8 scale, which I'm surprised he doesn't, because I feel like there's got to be more money in off-road for manufacturers.
He just doesn't. He doesn't even focus much on off-road. Period. You know what I mean?
I know, it's unfortunate.
I don't think he made the finals at the Euros in 8 scale this weekend. I don't know. I got to check on that. All right, my final question is.
Yeah.
Probably one of your biggest critics, but I know you and him are cool. Joseph Quagreen is.
I think the best word would be misunderstood. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like 90% of the things that JQ says, I agree with. Like on the racing side of things,
right?
As far as like I'm gonna keep it on the RC related topics, because that's the other side of JQ is just that's his whatever. He can do what he wants to do.
That's his drug of choice,
right? Exactly. But the RC side of things, a lot of the stuff I agree with, and the problem is, in my opinion, that people are so polar with JQ that they don't hear his message half the time.
His delivery is best
because his delivery is not always.
Oh, smooth. I know. Trust me, I have this argument with him daily.
Yeah. But a majority of things like his. You know what? This actually brings up something that I'd like to talk about, because JQ criticizes all these races, right? And people take that like he's bashing the race. But he's not. He's just telling them how it can be better, right? And no one hears that. But if no one says it, then they're just going to keep doing what they're doing.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Like, it's ridiculous. But likewise, when people have some kind of criticism towards the RCGP, he doesn't see it that way, which I find really ironic. It's like, bro, the people have a legitimate question here, and they're maybe not bashing it. So
I think he's just so defensive. I think he's so used to people bashing him and being on him, and
I agree. I think,
and he's just defensive about everything because, like,
exactly, he's created his own, but his own thing there. But,
I think people just think he's an easy target, but that's what gets him pissed off too, is because he's so quick-witted and comes back at him, and they're like, you weren't as easy as I thought.
Yeah, I think a lot of the points he has are really, really good. I think he's right a lot of the time, not always.
Yeah, don't tell him that.
I think he's actually majority of things. I think are on point if people can look past who's saying it. Mm-hmm. I think that he says a lot of good things. Well,
that's good to hear because I know he was very critical of Top 25, and he even told me about the idea that he pitched to you, and you talked about it, and that's good because at the end of the day, we should all come together, and try to make things. We got to make this hobby better and scale motorsports even better, man. So
yeah, and the thing is like I think people get a little bit, and that's something that I hope that. And I'm just going off of like Facebook messages that I see when I say that he's taking offense to maybe things that aren't intended to be offensive. Mm-hmm. But I was thinking it brought me back to the top 25 thing is like, I try and respond to everybody, every question, every comment, because I want people to understand and try and learn what's going on. But that could totally be interpreted that I'm sensitive about that as well, you know what I mean? It is hard. It is a hard balance because it's something that he's put a lot of time into. Likewise, that I've put a lot of time in the top 25. And I have all the back knowledge in my brain on why the decisions were made that way, like he does, or anyone does, or Joey with his race, or the 1,000 entry race over here, or everyone's got their reasons. But yeah, I mean,
hey, I don't blame you.
It's hard not to take offense, but it's.
I respond to everybody that messages me, man. So
yeah,
I think I'd say this all the time. A little bit of attention goes a long way, and I've been trying to tell him that for a long time. I'm like, man, you and your one-word answers, they don't work. And
there's a lot of times I've typed those same answers and I delete them.
Yeah, but I just wanted to get that out because I know a lot of people might have thought that you guys all have beef and whatnot like that, but
no.
It's all good, man.
And the thing is like and that's one thing that sucks about obviously social media is like everything can be read and misunderstood incorrectly. You know what I mean? Like you can take offense to anything if you want to read it a certain way. Yeah. You know what I mean? So yeah, I don't have any problem with JQ. I don't have any problem with I have a couple problems with a few people, but not anyone that's in RC right now. Right. You know what I mean? Like everybody's got their own gig. It is what it is. I agree. And top 25 and RCGP, there's no competition there. They're completely separate things.
Exactly.
They don't even relate. And realistically, they actually help each other. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean?
Good stuff. Well, man, I appreciate your time. It's been a great chat. I'll be honest, and I enjoyed going down memory lane with you, and keep up your good work with Top 25.
No, I appreciate it.
I hope you get back to racing. Hey, I need you to convince Jay to get Skype on his phone, man.
I know. I'm on it. I'll make it happen.
Thank you for your time. Do you want to say shout out to anybody or say thank you to anybody before we sign off?
Thank you to the people that follow the Top 25 and the people that appreciate what I'm doing. And if anyone does have any question, or if someone doesn't understand when a ranking comes out as far as like how this person went there and that person's there and why is that person whatever and things like that, then feel free to message me and I'll do my best to explain why. Mm-hmm. And I always try and answer every single message that I get.
Cool, man. I know you've been responsive to my messages, and it's what's the web address again?
Top25rc.com.
Mm-hmm. And on Facebook as well.
Yep, exactly.
All right, Rick, man. I appreciate your time. I'm sure we'll be talking a lot more as time goes on. And enjoy your day, man. And Jam and Jay next. That's who's coming on. We got to get him.
That's right. You got to get it going, dude.
All right.
I'll message him.
Cool. Well, thanks, dude, and you take care.
Yep, you too.
You are entering the Techno RC Grassroots Racer Spotlight. The part of the podcast that gives the listeners a platform to talk about RC. Brought to you by Techno RC. Techno RC. Techno RC is a premium manufacturer specializing in 8th and 10th scale high-performance off-road RC buggies and trucks. Visit www.technorc.com for a complete catalog of their products.
Welcome to the Techno RC Grassroots Racer Spotlight. This is the part of the podcast dedicated to all the guys out there and females that are working Monday to Friday, 9 to 5 or 5 to 9, or working 6 days a week and racing on the weekend or racing throughout the week. You're the guys that make this industry possible. You're the guys paying the pro guys' salaries. Without you guys, we cannot do it. So this part of the podcast is dedicated for you guys. You got something you want to say? Want to tell us about where you're racing, how much you love RC, what's pissing you off in RC? This is your time to shine. So this week, we've been trying to get this young man on the podcast on this segment for a while. His name is Lucas Livingstone. I think he's the youngest guy to come on this podcast. So what's up, Lucas? How are you?
Good. How are you doing?
I'm cool, man. How was your day today? You went racing today, right?
Yep. I went racing at LRC Raceway in Longmont, Colorado, and I did pretty good. It was an improvement from the last time I went there for a bigger race, but yeah.
What did you race? What classes?
I don't know if this... I know you like nitro a lot, but unfortunately, I only run electric. I have an e-buggy and e-truggy.
Okay.
So, let me think. Today, I won't go too much about today, but I think I got first in the B main and in buggy, and then seventh in the A main and truck, which is also where I qualified. So can't really complain.
Did you bump up into the A main then, or
no? They don't do bump ups. There was actually a rain delay at the very start, so they only did 3 rounds, so they didn't have enough time. But
all right. Well,
it's still fine.
Tell everybody where you're from and how old you are, and yeah, we'll go on from there.
All right. So obviously, I'm Lucas Livingstone. I'm from Windsor, Colorado. I'm 16 years old. I race 1/8 scale, 1/10 scale off-road, 1/10 scale on-road. I have a couple crawlers.
Oh, you're just addicted then.
Yeah, I have a lot of cars.
Yeah. Sound like me. I was just putting my crawlers away. I got to get them ready. I'm going on to a little event here in a couple of weeks that my buddy's having. It's my first real crawler event. So How long have you been into RC, dude?
So I guess I can just get into the story of how I got into RC now. But for racing, just like getting back into it, about 4 years. Overall, I'd say about 7 years. But a lot of those years. So basically the story is, my dad got me a Stampede for my 9th birthday, Traxxas Stampede, and I, drove it around, had fun with it, but then I broke it, and I was like, well, okay, this thing doesn't, put it in the garage for 3 years. Well, 3 years later, I find it, and I'm like, hey, I should fix this, so I took it to my local hobby shop, fixed it up, and 4 years from now, and now I'm here, so... Yeah, that happened.
All right. So when did you really start racing seriously?
So I had my Stampede. I think I got it fixed in December, and the next July, I figured out RC racing was a thing. I went to my track. I did some practice, and then of course, upgraded from there. And so just a little bit after that, but I took my Stampede there initially. Then I got a Slash. Eventually until I figured my way out. To get a bunch of cars. So
was your dad taking you to the track? Was you racing with him, or was he helping you out?
He doesn't race. We got him a Rustler, and he finds it fun, but he just breaks it, and he's just, it's like, this is fun, but I don't want to spend so much money breaking it. But he does have a crawler. We both have 2 SCX 10.2s, and we crawl together, and that's a lot of fun. So that's how I do it with him. He doesn't race, though. That's
fun, too. They got AMSOIL Fest coming up this weekend.
Yeah, I've been looking at that. I was just in California a week ago, and I was begging my dad to put the trip back a week. So
it looks like a lot of fun.
Fest.
I gotta get to there one day, I think. I'm going to try to. I'll be watching it.
This trip was the bucket list trip, I guess. I went to OCRC, Hot Rod Hobbies, and I went to LSR Speedway in Sacramento. So, yeah, it was a lot of fun.
Yeah, I would say so. Those are some cool tracks you went to, man. Congratulations.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun.
All right, so you race up there in Colorado. I know some guys from, some of our guys went up there for the Border Wars race that they have. I don't know exactly where it was, but I saw the track. It's pretty cool. I think Colorado's pretty cool. I met some guys from there in my travels as well. RC guys. So what is it that you like about RC? Like, what keeps you coming back? You're young, like you're 16 years old. You're working and doing this on your own, kind of like you know.
Yeah.
So you work 2 jobs and you race RC cars. How do you find time to do that as well as manage school and all that stuff?
It's pretty crazy. I don't have much free time, I guess I would say. So I work 2 jobs at Hobbytown USA and Chipotle. And then I also am on the golf team. So I do golfing a lot. That's my kind of other thing. And then RC, I guess, is my other thing. So my parents won't let me go racing unless I have good grades. So I guess that keeps me motivated in school.
That's good.
Yeah. I don't know. I just find it a ton of fun. So
yeah.
I don't know.
What do your friends think about your RC addiction, like in school? Or do you have any other friends that are your age that race with you?
Yeah, I have a couple friends that I've met at the track and that we race together. And then my other friends that weren't into RC, when I first told them about it, they're like, oh, that sounds cool. You can just go do that. And eventually I took them to the track, and they saw how awesome it was. They both got on-road cars, and, I taught them. This was, I think, about a year ago. And, we all raced together, the 3 of us, and it was a ton of fun. But they're starting to slow down. I don't know. One of them, they still have their cars, but we haven't gone in a while, but I think they want to go again. They haven't been in a while.
They probably got girlfriends. That's what happened.
Yeah, probably.
So what do you like more, on-road or off-road?
I really like off-road more. On-road, so my track, it's called, or my local track, the one I go mostly to, is called the E-Team Hobbyplex. And what they do is, it's one of those tracks where they rotate. They have oval, on-road, and then off-road. So they have a carpet, just like a huge carpet track. And then they just rotate that between, they set up off-road, they set up on-road, and then they set up oval. Okay. So I've never tried oval, but on-road, on-road's a lot of fun. The issue is I'm just really bad at it.
Okay.
Like, compared to, like, some of my friends that race off-road and on-road, I'm way closer to them in off-road. So on-road's fun. Like, I have 2 on-road cars, but I would rather do 8 scale and off-road, which is, it's summer right now, so I haven't done on-road in a while. But
stick with on-road. Greg Degani, first ever American world champion, always said to me, and he says all the time, if you want to get faster racing 8 off-road, race on-road. It teaches you corner speed.
Yeah, that's what everybody says. So I'm going to stick with it. Okay. Yeah, it's still fun, but I'm just bad at it, which I guess will make me better.
You need to get yourself a nitro car here for next summer. I know it's expensive, but it's definitely the glory. E-buggy and e-truggy is okay. I like e-buggy too. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
But like, nitro is definitely the glory, dude. That's where you gotta make your name.
I've only been racing 8 scale for a year. So what I was thinking is, my plan is to figure out the cars like mechanically without having to deal with tuning or anything. So I can figure out like what an 8 scale car, how to tune it. And then eventually move into nitro where I can focus, because nitro is a lot more tuning and different stuff like that. So you have to learn. Where
are you learning this skill set to wrench on your cars and tuning your cars? Where are you learning it from?
So I have to thank all of this stuff I know. There's this guy named Ryan Shawso. We met, my dad knew him from like a friend, and they went on some sort of retreat, and he met him, and he found RC cars, and that was about 2 years ago, and he taught me everything I know, basically. So that was really awesome. Me and him raced together a lot. He used to take me before I could drive. He used to race, like, let me think, what did he race? He raced actual cars on a road track, and he was sponsored by a bunch of people. So he had and he was in RC, back in the 80s. He had like low C stuff. So he came back and we met up, and he's pretty much taught me everything I know. So I have everything to thank for him, because
That's cool. It's always good to have a mentor of sorts, or as I like to say, a Jedi master to teach young Padawans how to.
Yeah, he's definitely that.
Good, that's good. And you gotta also do your own research as well, and figure out things too. So
yeah,
that's cool, because I know guys like that are older than you and they don't even know how to wrench on their cars because their dad does it all for them. So it's good that you learned that. So you've been into racing for what, about 4 years now? Who's your favorite driver? Like, who do you look up to in the industry as a racer or somebody in the industry that you think is good, is a mentor or you would like to meet or something?
Yeah, I really like Jared Tebow. I feel like he just, he's really positive about everything, making RC better. He's not necessarily doing it for himself. He's supporting the hobby. I actually have a couple, like a year ago, he was giving away signed shirts, and I bought one, so that just shows you.
Yeah, I got to find my JTP hat that I bought from him, too. It's around here somewhere. Mm-hmm. Yeah, Tebow's fine. He was the first big name to come on the podcast, and it was pretty good. It was good talking to him. Yeah. And I've seen him at races, but I had never spoke to him until we did the podcast, and it went pretty good. He's a good guy. And he's got a family, and it's difficult to do, but he's a good racer, and he's been around for a long time. So that's a good person to emulate, to look at as a mentor. Is there anybody that you feel like that you don't really like in the industry, or you may have like, I don't know if I really want to meet that guy or something like that?
I don't know. I guess really this is everybody's been like this, but anybody that's like really negative, like blaming other people, like crashing, rough driver. I haven't really seen that. I mean,
it's racing though.
Sometimes, but it's racing. But somebody's just who's like doesn't have respect for other people. I don't really know of any pro drivers that are like that. But.
No, they're pretty cool. I mean, if they get into accidents, you got to understand these guys have got money on the line, so they're gonna go for it, and I don't blame them. Now, if they blatantly take you out, then it's a different story. So all right. So you just recently went to OCRC. Where else did you go?
I went to OCRC, Hot Rod Hobbies, and LSR Speedway in California.
Now, did you race at all these races or these tracks, or did you just go like in practice and?
I practiced at Hot Rod Hobbies and LSR, but I did a Wednesday night club race at OCRC, and that was a lot of fun.
Yeah, did you meet Jay Smoker there?
I met Wallie builds.
Okay,
I didn't really see anybody else that was there because they were all in Arizona.
Oh, right.
For the INS.
Okay, yeah. Well, Wallie's a good guy too. I enjoyed interviewing him. And if you would have met Jay Smoker, you would have remembered it. But he lives very close to OCRC, and he's there every Wednesday night racing 10 scale and e-buggy. So which track was your favorite out of those ones?
I guess I should say OCRC.
Yeah.
Hot Rod Hobbies, like, people look at that. I mean, it's a pretty historic track.
Oh, is
it? I don't think they get as many racers as they used to. But it was awesome. Like, I mean, it was as fun as dirt can get. It was super. I was surprised by the grip of the track. It was super hard pack. It was awesome. The layout was awesome. Yeah. People were awesome.
It's amazing that they get such good layouts in such a small track. Like, even for 8 scale, it's fat. It's good. Like, small track, but really good. Good layouts. It's always been like that. They have Tuesday night races there. That's their big night. Tuesday night nationals, they call it.
Yeah.
So what's your favorite track there in Colorado?
My favorite track in Colorado. So I have a couple. Have you heard of Moore RC Raceway in Denver?
MHOR?
Yeah, MHOR.
Yeah.
I don't go there too often, but I go there whenever they have a big race. That track is pretty awesome. Today I was racing at LRC in Longmont. That place is pretty awesome. E-Team Hobbyplex. It's about 30 minutes north, and LRC, my 8-scale track, is about 30 minutes south, which is pretty awesome. And E-Team also has a huge 8-scale track. I don't know if you probably haven't seen anything on Facebook, but they have a huge track about an hour north. And the thing I don't know if you've seen, people don't like it because it doesn't have pipes.
What does it have?
It doesn't have anything in between the lanes. They just have flags, which I guess, I mean, it doesn't really keep the lanes together, that kind of goes everywhere.
Right.
But the people that own it are really nice, and they do have organized races there, and they have a huge triple, huge jumps, break it. A ton of people broke stuff. I can't remember if I broke anything. I think I did. I broke a couple things. So yeah, but it's a lot of fun. It's like the Send It track, I guess you should say.
Why don't they have pipes? They just choose not to, or?
I don't know. I've heard it's a safety hazard. I mean, people tripping on it. I don't know about that. Another thing is budget. I mean, they have two tracks. They operate an indoor, they're owned by the same people. I mean, it's a huge track, so it would take a lot of pipe. I mean, I don't know the exact size on it.
Okay.
But it's got to be one of the bigger. Like I went to Thornhill
right
a couple of years ago, and it's about the same width, but I'd say it's like an extra lane back.
Okay.
So it's huge.
All right. You got to send me the link for that so I can check it out. I want to see how they're doing this.
Yeah.
Cool.
It's
so
pretty crazy.
Well, being as you're a young man in RC, what are some of the things that you like and dislike about this hobby?
I guess I'll start out with the positive. I like how it's like a community. Like at first when I came into racing, I was kind of like scared to bother people. Like, oh, they're doing their own thing. I need to do my own thing. But then I figured out, just nobody cares. They're not going to be like, oh, you're bothering me. Go away. Everybody's always super friendly and helps each other out, which is something I really like. And, I guess something I don't like is, I don't know. I mean, there's always going to be controversy over some things, but like sometimes on social media, there's some negative things, just the occasional stuff like that. But I don't think that can really be avoided, in any type of racing. There's always going to be some sort of...
There's negativity in life, period. You can't run away from negativity or drama. You got to learn to deal with it. And don't get me wrong. We have lots of drama, and I talk about it here, but I'm more about stuff on the track, like, and what goes on there. But I always hear people say, oh, it's too much drama in RC. I think it's too much drama in life, like,
Yeah.
I mean, trust me, there are a lot of things that got blown out of proportion in RC because we have nothing else to do because we're bored and we're all nerds. But, I don't know, man. But how do you feel as a young guy watching some of these grown men get so upset at races and stuff like that? Do you ever encounter that?
I mean, I guess I can understand why they're upset, but in the end, you just have to remember it's just, you're racing with toy cars, I guess is a thing.
Scale Motorsports. We don't call it toy cars in this podcast.
Oh, yeah,
Lucas.
you don't. Yeah, I guess I should call it that.
That's what I'm really joking. Yeah, man, I think it's good. I think some of these older guys out there should listen to you younger guys. Like, just have fun. That's what the whole point of this is, to have fun. So, okay. So, what are your plans for the rest of the year, bud? Like, racing-wise?
So, there's a couple... I guess I'll tell you about this series that in Colorado, they have an 8-scale series called the Rocky Mountain Summer Series. They also have Border Wars, which I knew. It came to LRC 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
I couldn't do that because I was in California. But they have the Rocky Mountain Summer Series, which is, they have 6 races in Colorado, which is mainly what I do in club racing in between. So round 5 is in Cheyenne, Wyoming, about an hour north of me. So I'm going to be going to that, which is at the end of August, I think. And then the E-Team Hobbyplex, they have the outdoor track that I was talking about earlier. They have a single-day race coming up in August again. And then, I don't know, just eventually, I just bought a TLR 22 5.0 to replace my B6. So I'm going to get back into the indoor off-road season and attending races like that as soon as the Rocky Mountain Summer Series ends, which is in September.
Okay.
So that's my plan right now.
So you're pretty much racing throughout the week and on the weekends then?
Yeah. I try to go, I'd say on average, I go about 3 to 4 times per month.
Okay. Well, that's decent.
So at most 4, but yeah. I can, I have my job and stuff, so I can really only go on the weekends. And sometimes on Hobby Town, I even work through the weekends. So,
Okay.
yeah.
Well, that's, in order to play, you must pay. So,
Yeah.
You got to work and make that money. Without money, tires cost money, and racing requires tires. So, you don't.
Yeah.
All right, dude. Well, yeah, Hobby Tom. What's the craziest thing you've seen happen at Hobby Tom and RC related?
I haven't actually worked. You mean like somebody bringing a car in?
Yeah.
Or like stuff like that? Yeah.
Yeah, something that's just
I
like
haven't
blew
worked there
your
for too
mind.
long. I've only worked there for 3 weeks. But the big thing that happens a lot is somebody will be walking in and be like, I need a part for an RC car.
Oh,
And you have
great.
absolutely no idea what they're talking about. So an easy way to kind of figure that out is to point at cars on the wall and try to get them to, they're like, like there's so much stuff. And
It's amazing, isn't it?
yeah, that's the biggest thing that happens. I say that happens a lot more than you'd think.
I'm not surprised, dude. Even in my line of work, I'm seeing some things that I'm just like, oh, okay. That's,
Yeah.
That's funny. So what's your bucket list race like? What is a couple of races that you just want to go to at some point in your RC career?
I want to go to Silver State. That's a big thing. I'm hoping next year. We'll see. Ryan, who I talked about earlier, is also thinking about going, so we might go together.
Yeah, the Colorado guys had a nice pit outside there. That's good. They were smart.
Yeah, the Colorado crew was there, so hopefully I can join them next year. We'll see. I mean, I don't know if my parents want me flying or driving by myself, to Las Vegas. But another race. I mean, I'd love to go back to OCRC for any of the Surf City, I don't know, stuff like that. OCRC is awesome.
All right. Did you watch the Euros or 8-scale Nationals or 8-scale Euros last week?
I didn't get a chance to watch the Euros, but I did watch the mains of the Nationals.
Okay.
So yeah, I saw that.
Yeah.
It was cool.
Yeah, it was
I've been to Thornhill. But I didn't race 8-scale there. They have a little turf track.
Yeah, it's very nice. It's not little. It's actually pretty.
Yeah, just compared to the 8-scale track. I mean, they also have a turf track.
Yeah.
And I raced there. That was a lot of fun. But they were doing a track rebuild while I was there. But, I got to see it, which was pretty awesome.
Good stuff, man. Good stuff. That's cool, man. I've never been to Thornhill. I'd like to go there and check it out.
Yeah, it's pretty awesome.
Their first track, outdoor track, they had the Nationals back in. That was even bigger. Like that's crazy.
I've seen that video of the start of all those mains.
Oh yeah,
pretty
that's
crazy.
insane. That's insane. All right, man. Well, I appreciate you coming on. I like that you're doing this on your own. You're racing on your own. You're paying for it on your own, and you're racing so many different classes. So I know it's not cheap. But I'm sure you figured out how to do it cheap because, you can race on a budget as well. And I implore you, man, keep it up because, there's a lot of people out there saying they can't afford to race and you're doing it and working 2 jobs and in school. I mean, mind you, you're still young. You don't have as much responsibilities as a lot of people. But keep it up, man, and keep going to school and do well in school as well. It's very important. And I'm sure you'll keep me abreast of your racing and whatnot. Is there anybody you would like to say thank you to before we end this segment?
Well, thanks to my parents for letting me do this. Ryan, who I talked about earlier, thanks for everything you've done to me. You've done so much for me. I don't know, thanks for Lowell and Debbie Ennis, who own E-Team Hobbyplex. They're super supportive and awesome. I mean, I came in the first day with my Stampede. They've been helping and stuff like that ever since, I came in 4 years ago.
Yeah.
For the Rocky Mountain Summer Series, Graham Hill and Eric Larson do a great job organizing that entire series. So they make Colorado RC like the races that we have, which is pretty awesome. So, yeah. That's
good, man. I'm glad you mentioned your parents and the people that helped you out. That's awesome, dude. And keep up the good work, man. We'll be in touch anyway. You can hit me up anytime you feel like chatting or you have a question or anything. And I appreciate you coming on to the Techno RC Grassroots Racer Spotlight, dude.
Yeah, thanks. And thanks you for having me in this podcast. It's awesome. I try to listen to everyone you got, and I love it.
What's your favorite podcast so far?
I like the Silver State. I mean, sorry, not the Silver State. The Nationals recap.
Oh yeah, we got a lot of heat for that one, but it's all right.
Yeah, I like when people talk about controversy. I know I find it funny.
Yeah,
when everybody disagrees.
Yeah, but this is racing, man. We're always never going to
Yeah.
agree on everything, and
Sure.
rubbing is racing. So.
Yeah.
And you keep on
Yeah.
racing and keep having fun, dude. That's the main
Yeah.
thing.
Thank you.
All right, good buddy. Well, I'll talk to you later. Thank you for your time.
Okay. Sounds good. Thanks.
Now we're about to go into the JQ Racing Rant. This is the uncensored part of the podcast. We will not censor it. It has cursing, banter, jokes, you name it. Pretty much what we would be talking about in the pits if we were at a race. I do understand some young kids listen to this podcast. Maybe this isn't suitable for them, and that's fine. If you're a parent, you don't mind your kids listening to it, that's cool too. We don't mind that as well. So, if this ends your podcast listening for the night or for the episode, we appreciate your support. Please continue to support us. We strive to bring content weekly for you guys, the listeners, the people that love RC. So thank you for your support. If you're going on to the JQ Racing Rant, enjoy it because it's always fun to get on there and talk smack to Joseph or Jeff or whatever we think's going on in RC. We try to rant, but we also try to offer solutions. So remember, Nitro's the glory, E-Buggy pays the bills, and see you next week.
We are now at that point of the show where you should fasten those seatbelts and put your big boy pants on.
Whoa. Things are about to get serious.
It's time for the JQ Racing Rant.
And now we enter the JQ Racing Rant. This is the part of the podcast that if you don't like a little bit of cursing, you don't like some jokes and just some rowdy talk, maybe you shouldn't listen to it. If you have some kids that you don't like them listening to this type of stuff, then it's time to put them to bed because this is the part of the podcast where you need to put your big boy pants on. And I was trying to get Jeff on, but
if you're a girl?
Oh, we could put on your big girl pants or your big girl dress or whatever you want. Why have you always got to make things so difficult? Yeah. Well, what if they're like you? You don't know. You're just like not even human. Like, you're like a cyborg. Oh, great oracle of RC.
Let's see how many Americans have signed up for Rusty.
No, you know what? We're recording. We'll worry about. We already talked about.
We got some more.
We already talked about. We already talked about RCGP. Okay. Now we're doing our rant, and
15 drivers. That's cool.
Yeah. All right. Well, we already explained that they will get transferred over to the.
Yep.
All right. So can you focus, sir, please, sir?
I'm just back on Facebook. Give me a minute. Tons of pissed off people have messaged me, and I couldn't message them back.
I'm sure you'll spend it all night answering and talking about. I was working.
Today was funny, actually. So Lee messaged me about the RCGP, Lee Martin, a few days ago. And then today at the track, he was like, hey, what's up, guy who doesn't message me back? And then I'm like, hey, you just got to wait another 6 hours. I'm banned on Facebook.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. And then when the ban was lifted, I messaged him back.
Okay.
Hey?
So, hey, we don't have Jeff Keaton this week. But he told me he's thinking of coming to RCGP because he knows that you need him to pit for him and keep him.
Yeah, I do. And you know what?
What?
You need to do your job and get every single JQ racing driver to the RCGP. I don't care where they live. East Coast, most likely, because that's where all our drivers are. They need to drive over whatever. They need to be at the RCGP.
I think a few will come.
If they're true JQ racing drivers, they will be at the first ever U.S. RCGP. That's all I have to say.
Jeff is coming because you need a nice soothing someone to talk to you and stroke your ego while you're up there freaking out on the driver's stand.
No one needs to talk to me or anything. This has nothing to do with ego. We just need all the JQ racing drivers at the RCGP.
Dude,
every single main needs some JQ cars in there.
Dude, I've pitted for you and heard you freak out on the mic. What the fuck? And I'm like,
that was only. Where was that?
Every race that I've pitted for you.
I don't know.
You freak out.
I only know Southern Nats was cool, and I was annoyed that it went so bad.
Yeah, well, you didn't. You know why Southern Nats went bad? 1, you tried to burn down our pits. 2, you didn't listen to me.
Yeah, because for once in your life, you would actually have picked the right tire, I think.
It's like, man, you shouldn't go on that tire. Your car looks like crap. My car is great. You don't know what you're talking about. I'm the Oracle of RC. Don't you know that?
Yeah, and then it sucked.
It did. It
Oh
sucked.
my God. It was
And
bad.
you sucked, and you got
But
your...
you know what? At that race, I was doing pretty well in truck. That would have been awesome.
You know what? Just speaking of... That was a really great race that we went to. One of probably the best layouts.
I want to go back. It's just the wrong time of year.
Yeah. The layout was so good. I remember watching...
When is that race?
I think it's September. I'm not sure.
It's the same time with the 10 scale worlds. I remember this deal.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I think my favorite part of that track was like out on the back, and you came over like, because it had such awesome elevation changes, right? And you in your truck and your car, like that, where we went right downhill to that turn to go back uphill. Man, you would come over there, and all the pros are doing, but you would come over there so fast, your car would just hover over the top, like, and like you would touch down. Cool. You would touch down like halfway down, and then boom, and just slam on the brakes and go up. In truck, they look so cool. That was a great race. Them guys put on a good show. It's very comfortable. It's air conditioned throughout the whole thing. It's not dusty. It's great. I enjoyed that race. I enjoyed it. They have a drive-through daiquiri place not far from there, and
yeah, you enjoyed that too.
Yeah, and I could only drink one of them things. They were too sweet. All right, so Jeff says he's coming to RC GP to be your pit man and probably race. He went up to Walla Walla up in the Pacific Northwest and did some old school racing on a old school type track. He had fun. He did good. I think he should have done better than what he done, but he had a podium, and then he says the same thing, the old infamous excuse for people not doing well at a race, the tire, just like you. No, I had the wrong tire, But anyway, he's not on this weekend, but you are, and your rant. I actually have somewhat of a rant. Our rants are kind of about the same thing, about the same race, but mine's a little bit different from yours. So, you was there. You've been to many of these races. You go ahead and tell us about it.
Okay. Yeah, so my rant has to do with atmosphere at the races, and specifically 10 scale racing in Europe. I don't know what's going on, but it's super lame. So here's the deal. You've been at the Nitro track, just went to the Nitro Euros, the main start. There's a full bleachers of people. They're cheering. There's air horns. There's this and that. There's noise. Like the excitement builds up throughout the day. So you have the lower finals, and better drivers keep starting their races, and people are bumping up, and it just gets more and more exciting throughout the day. Then you have the semi-finals. All the best drivers are out there, and then some bump and some don't. You have a last chance qualifier for one last spot, and then there's the main at the end of the day. So the excitement just keeps on building, and it's like you feel like you're at something special, a motorsport event. It's just it's good fun. It's great. It's fun to watch. So Max and I were like, hey, the 10 scale Euros are going on. It's not too far away. Let's just take a day off from practicing and wrenching, and let's go watch. So we go and watch. So we go there. We get there before the first day main. It's just like dead silence. There's just nerds in a field. That's it. Like nerds in a field. That's what it is. Like if someone came there, they would definitely not pick up RC as a hobby. Now, I'm not taking anything away from the organizer because it was cool. They had like restaurant area, tables, chairs. They were selling beers. Like the whole organization was awesome, and the presentation was great. But it's just like silence, nothing going on. So here's the deal. They aren't allowed to announce during the races at 10 scale Euros. So in qualifying, there's just cars going around the track, and the announcer isn't allowed to say like, oh, this guy's leading and his pace is this and that, because that's coaching, So let's say I have a good time and then you're up after me. If the announcer says that you're just 1 second behind, maybe you'll push harder, and that's an unfair advantage. How stupid is that? So because there's no announcing, no one knows what's going on. Yeah, the drivers don't know, but no one else knows it either. So you're just watching hairdryers go around the track. Like, fuck, so lame. Okay, but it gets worse. Then you have the mains. Okay, and it just starts like qualifying's over, there's a 1 hour break, whatever. And then people just start racing. There's no build up, no nothing. Oh, it's an A main. Oh, I thought they were just practicing or something. Like, there's nothing. You don't know what's going on. And no one's announcing, obviously. So no one's announcing anything during the race. And you don't really even cheer. Everyone's just quiet.
It's like golf.
I remember in Spain when we were there, we were like cheering or saying, and people would be like, shh. Like, you're not allowed to say, like, these fragile 10 scale drivers can't concentrate if you cheer for someone, or you clap or you make a noise. You have to be completely silent.
Really?
And also, because there's no announcing, you actually don't know when the race is going to be over. So you don't know when the last lap starts. How stupid is that? Even as a driver, if no one yells up at you or something, like your mechanic, or if no one tells you, hey, it's the last lap, maybe try and overtake, then the drivers are just going to kind of follow each other, and then, car number 3 finished, and be like, damn, I should have tried to overtake. It's the dumbest thing ever. It's so stupid. At this race, one of the mains, I think it was, I can't remember now. First main, I think, was really close.
I didn't get to see it because the internet messed up.
We were just watching. And then suddenly we just hear golf claps from the pits. They must have finished. Like, we didn't know that, this is the last lap. Let's see if he can do a crazy move. Like, there's no excitement because you don't know what's going on. There's no announcing, and everyone's just quiet.
Wow, that sucks. I wouldn't like that.
We really have to change that. Can you imagine the Reedy race if there was no Scotty Ernst? It's just like they line up the cars and then, okay, drive. And everyone's quiet.
Yeah, that would suck.
So lame.
That sucks. I never knew that because I only watch it online. And it
must be some Euro rule.
It's way more exciting online. I'll tell you that because you know what's going on.
I already have a plan for this.
Oh,
so
gosh.
I just want to attend the 10 scale Euros now with a good sized JQ team. And yeah, we're going to change that.
Yeah, you're going to get banned from the Euros. That's what you're going to do.
Maybe.
Hey, you thought you thought getting DQ from DNC was something. Hold my beer. Watch
banned
this.
for cheering.
Yeah. Over excessive cheering, JQ out.
Yeah.
Out.
I like, what is the point?
That's stupid.
Why don't you even have announcing? Why can't you say like,
what?
1 minute to go?
But other races are like that. Like other 10 scale races have announcing.
Yeah, but it's not the Euros.
But what about what's the difference? Because it's electric. What they do? They announce.
I don't know.
They announce during the 8 scale Euros.
Yeah, and it was good. You actually know what's going on. People are cheering. It's exciting.
They must have
Makes
somebody
it more fun.
I wonder if they have somebody that has a sign like in golf that'd be like, all right,
you make
silence
that now. Yeah, clap.
And then afterwards, I
don't know. It was really disappointing.
That's stale. That's boring. That's really boring. Well, you know what? My little bit of a rant is about 10 scale racing in Europe. I know you don't like this track, but I think it was really awesome to see 2-wheel drive cars doing big triples and big jumps like what they were doing. I thought it was great.
Yeah, I mean, I like that it's a dirt track outdoors. That's what all 10 scale tracks should be. Like 9 out of 10.
This is my rant.
I just think it's not really the best layout.
I understand that. But this is my rant. So me and my buddy Joey, I was like, Joey, when was the last big 10 scale event held outdoors in America? And I think we went back to 2011. That was the last time. I think the Nationals, well, we obviously, like Cactus Classic and all that stuff doesn't exist anymore. It's moved to thing. And the Reedy race has been OCRC for Lord knows how long. But there hasn't been, I'm probably wrong, but there hasn't been a 10 scale Nationals outdoors for 10 scale since 2011. 8 years. That's pretty insane. And
also, even the last years that it was outdoors, it was these like sugared tracks, just like the AMSOIL Worlds. So super sugared tracks, so it's super high bite, super smooth. So yeah, it's outdoors, but it's kind of like racing on carpet indoors.
And I liked the fact that this track was outdoors with big jumps and spec tire. So everybody was on the same time. It was good to see. They were using front ribs. I haven't seen front ribs on a 2-wheel drive car in so long. Like, and not that I pay attention to 10 scale much, But I do enjoy the relay race, and I haven't really watched the 10 scale nationals because I don't like these little small. I do like OCRC, but like I can't really get into these tiny little tracks that they have some of these races on. Not saying that's bad. That's not my thing. But man, it was just great. Like on Garros, they're flying. Like, do you know how it's so difficult to jump a 2-wheel drive car that long, that big, like, you know? So I don't know.
For 10 scale you definitely need spec tire for these kind of races.
Yeah. But
it's only 5 minutes. And partly because it's only 5 minutes, but also I think because I haven't really thought about it, why it's such a big deal. But in 10 scale, really, the situation is such that if you don't have the right tire, you might as well forget about it.
Yeah. So this is just to make
it's often that kind of case. So if this track was a non-control, this race was a non-control tire event, it would be completely nuts to fly to this race and have the right tire and foam and everything. And it would be insane. I mean, even as it is now, it's still not perfect because you have to have new tires every single run, and that's not really a good thing. So what was it, like €900 just in tires for the race? So $1,000 you spend on tires because you can just do one run.
Yeah, that's insane.
Oh yeah, that's not good.
Yeah, and I definitely think 10 scale is definitely. Not saying 8 scale isn't tire sensitive, but 10 scale is super tire sensitive. If you don't have the right tire, you're screwed. Like at least in 8 scale, if you don't have the right tire, you can still be relatively fast. You know, you may not be as fast as the fastest guy, but you can still struggle your way through it because the races are longer too. So tires are going to end up going anyway. So I don't know. But it's good to see it outdoors. It's good to see spec tire, and it's good to see these cars flying through the air. Like, you know, I was like, wow, I forgot, you know, that this is like, you see some of these triples, man, I sent it. Like, you know, and I like OCRC. Like, I like watching the races there, and I like a lot of these indoor races. But it'd be good to see, you know, maybe a nationals or a big 10 scale event go outdoors again. I think it would. So
I actually ordered my last month. I ordered my Associated B74.
Oh,
getting ready for some 10 scale again.
Oh, are you?
10 scale is always good for. It's actually good for me for understanding setup and learning stuff, because on 10 scale you can really tell a difference on those small changes. You go to OCRC, track is pretty consistent, and you just practice there, and you can make a small change and you'll notice a difference in lap time and in feel, and you can really learn stuff there. So I really enjoy that side of it, and then I apply that to 8 scale. So it's been good. Now I had a gap year, so
are you trying to say you're going to do the Reedy again?
I'll definitely do Reedy if I get an invitational spot, and if I'm in open, I don't know, I'll decide when I'm there.
All right, that should be good. Yeah, good stuff. I don't know. What do you guys think? What did the viewers think? Should we see 10 scale out on a nice big outdoor track with using front ribs? And
I think it shouldn't. I mean, 10 scale track should be 10 scale size, like smaller size.
Not
smaller
big.
Than this would be perfect, but outdoors definitely. Like
and some big jumps.
I've seen video from the Worlds in '97 in Pomona.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that track was just died. Like, the driver stand is pretty low, and then 10 scale size track, dirt with grass infield, nice jumps. I mean, that's just perfection. But those tracks don't really exist anymore.
No.
But yeah, that's heaven on earth for 10 scale.
No, it just seems like they don't. I mean, I know, like, up for that race I was just talking about that Jeff went to in the Northwest Championship Tour, they raced 10 scale at 8 scale on the same day, and they race outdoors. You know, and on the same gnarly tracks that they're racing 8 scales. So that's good. But I'd like to see a big event held outdoors. Like, you know, I don't want to see you get blown all out. I just want to see some bigger jumps, slightly bigger track, you know, just, you know, some excitement. Not saying that it isn't exciting, but it just, you know, I don't know. Even though you think the racing wasn't good at this Euros, I thought it was exciting watching these cars fly. So
I didn't say the racing wasn't good. I said that it's not good that you can't create any kind of atmosphere in there.
No, but before you
Cars
came
going around the track.
Yes, I agree. But before, when we was talking before we started recording, he was like, me, just like the Swedish chef. That's what you sounded like.
What Swedish chef?
Yeah, you don't watch Muppet Babies. You had to play the violin when you was young. You didn't get to watch television.
Oh my God.
Oh, see, I know your sore spot, buddy. I know your sore spot.
My sore spot is when you say, "Oh, it's because you're getting old." Oh, that's so stupid.
That's another sore spot.
Excuse.
Now you can get old and you can go practice the violin again. There you go.
How old is Martin Beyer?
No idea. Probably younger than you.
Well, yeah, but he isn't that old, right? So in the prize giving, it's like Carlos Gomez, like, "Oh, and keeping it up for the old guys, and the fastest of the old guys is Martin Beyer in third because he beat like Savoya and Lee Martin." And I was like, what the?
Well, speaking
old
of
guys.
that,
I mean, if someone is like 50 years old and he's dominating in RC racing, yeah, then it's amazing. Like if you're 28 or 31 or whatever, what's the big deal? Like
Joseph,
I do not understand this way of thinking.
Accept it. 40 is coming. Look, I go 41 next week. I looked in the mirror today, and because of you, I have so much more gray hair. My beard is almost fully gray now.
Teemu Selander was over 40 years old playing in the NHL, playing ice hockey in the NHL. That, my friend, is much harder to do when you're that age. A physical sport like that.
Yeah, but you can physically train yourself.
Twiddling our thumbs and fingers. Of course you can do it when you're 40 years old. There's nothing that makes you slower then. The only thing that changes is people have kids, people get a fucking real life, and they're like, I'm tired of working on my RC car. I'm not going to work on it. I'm not going to go to the track and practice. I'm not going to do this. I'm not going to do that. Then they just show up at the track, and they aren't as good as before when they were virgins and wrenching on their cars in their basement and going to the track all the time. That's the only thing that changes.
Well,
your priorities in life change.
What's your excuse? You've re-virginized yourself now.
Yeah, I re-virginized myself, but the problem is that I have to do all these other things, like try and run a company and all this shit. Yeah. And that takes away from the time that I could actually...
Trying not to get banned on Facebook?
Well, yeah, that takes away from the time that I could put into working on my shit and going to the track.
But you're at the track all this week and wrenching. So I expect...
all this week.
Okay.
So out of this year, these 2 weeks are awesome and I go to the track. That should be my time, like, always.
Yeah, well...
Don't you understand? Like, if I would do what I do now for 2 weeks... If I did that for 52 weeks, I think you'd see a difference.
You know
what?
It's
got nothing to do with my age.
You definitely sound like you're playing a violin right now. You definitely sound like you're playing a violin. So I expect better results from you and Max at next week then, after all this practice you've been getting.
Yeah, I think I'll actually do well.
Actually, what is your next move after Asti? Where are you going, back to Finland?
Yeah, after Asti, we drive back to Finland, and there's a Finnish national. I'll probably do it.
Practice makes perfect.
Then after that, so that's going to be August, second weekend in August, Finnish National. And then after that, I don't think I have anything until the RCGP in America.
Good. So I expect full Facebook Lives weekly and everything else.
Yeah, that's going to be a bunch of, work on the guide thing. I kind of want to finish all the text. So then we kind of just need pictures and stuff. I kind of want to do videos too. So at some point have to do those. And I can do some Facebook Lives then. A lot of company stuff then. I want to work on stuff so then when I go to America, I can just go to the track every day.
Yeah.
That's my goal.
And then when you get in that mode, you can't get nothing done. I'm going to the track. I'm going to do good. I'm going to be great again.
Yeah, then I can get DQ'd.
Yeah, you know what? You honestly, that was your best chance of making an A.
Yeah, but even then, it would have been so much better had my engine not been sucking. Jesus Christ! I even then ran that dumb Legends class just to get track time, and I couldn't figure my engine out, even though I ran double classes. And then I switched the carb, and then it kind of worked in the last round, and I had a decent result. Yeah. Then I never got to run it again.
You know
Damn
what?
it.
You need to go listen to the rant that Jeff and I did about excuses, because that's all I heard coming out of your mouth. Stop playing the violin. Singing that same
It's
song.
not an excuse. I'm just
You
saying.
did was doing
I'm
well,
telling
and
you
then
what happened.
you got scared, and then you got DQ'd. So there you go.
I got scared. Don't worry. There's a DNC next year, and I'm going prepared.
Oh,
Next year at DNC, I'm gonna blow your socks off.
well,
I'm gonna make the main in both
Oh,
buggy
God.
and truggy next year. Just watch.
Oh boy, yeah.
I'm gonna practice. I'm actually gonna practice truggy. I decided. I've been doing way too well in truggy without giving a shit about it. So I'm gonna practice a bit.
Maybe you
Make sure it's running right.
Maybe you should practice e-buggy because that pays the bills.
Yeah, that's true. I have a new e-buggy now. We're gonna release it next week with pictures.
Oh yeah, I need to
God knows when it's gonna actually ship.
That's the truth.
Yeah.
I need to get me an e-buggy. You got an ESC and battery and motor for me? I might as well. I don't get to race
really.
anymore. Hopefully we'll get to race. Hopefully after the summer we're gonna build a track down here, and I need to get me a new car and get to do some racing. That'd be good because the team wants to see what you've been up to. So get on those Facebook lives, and yeah, have fun at the track this week. I hope you get some video from there. Thank you for coming on, and we'll talk. Remember, guys, we're gonna drop a starting grid podcast about ASTI. Also, if you did sign up for RCGP for the American race, you signed up for ASTI. We'll get transferred over next week when entries open. I wonder if the entries is going to sell out right away like the Raw Nats. We shall see. Be good if they do.
No. It might sell out, but it's going to take them 2 months.
I don't think it's going to sell out. I'm not going to, but I think it would be a good
Maybe
entry.
like 70 drivers or something.
That's
That'd be
good.
pretty good.
That's good. And I think it's going to be fun, man. I think it's going to be like I said, I think it's going to be a great experience for everybody. And cool. Well, everybody, I want to say thank you to all of our sponsors. Thank you to RCMX, Euro RC, Assault RC, Techno RC, Bipolar Designs, BK Servers, and 454 RC Works. And of course, thank you to JQ Racing. And thank you all to the hashtag NNRC squad from around the world and all the listeners and all the people that support us on Patreon. Have fun racing this weekend. We do have the second leg of the Euros going off, 4-wheel drive. And thank you guys for your support. Remember, nitro is the glory, but e-buggy pays the bills. And if you ain't grinding, you're sliding. Josie, you have anything to say before we sign off?
Yeah, clearly the e-buggy isn't paying your bills because you're always complaining.
Well, you know what? I'm about to have a bigger bill with this air conditioning. So flashing some more money this way, buddy.
Yeah, well, maybe if you try sell something, why don't you try and sell those e-buggies then? They're going to pay the bills.
I did sell a bunch of them, just for you to know. Okay?
Really? Yeah, well, not enough to pay the bills. Yeah. So you need to live up to your own slogan.
Yeah. You know what? You need to live up to a lot of things, too. You might have to break out that violin and go to the mark and start playing in fucking in Italy there. That's a story for another time.
That's a story for another time.
Oh, but it's going to be happen. That's for sure. All right.
That can be a rant.
All right, man. Thank you for your time, and I'll talk to you later. All right, everybody. Have fun this weekend.
Thank you for listening to the No Name RC podcast. Please tune in next time for more fresh RC content. And if you can, please also support us on patreon.com/The Quay Grain. We will greatly appreciate it. And don't forget, nitro is the glory.